that Tsundere goddess falls in love with me. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 876 Fierce Battle. The two stood opposite each other, about 50 or 60 meters apart. The crowd around them stared at the two, holding their breath. This battle was not only of great significance to the two, but also to the rest of the people in B City. Whether the pattern of B City would change drastically depended on the final result of the decisive battle between the two. My daughter, Nangang Lingaya, and my son, Nangang Teng, are they both okay now? Nangang Shan asked. As for the two of them, I can only say that they are not dead yet, but they are not much better. Lu Chuan said disapprovingly. Nangang Shan was angry, his brows were furious, and his eyes were fixed on Lu Chuan, with sharp eyes, as if he wanted to cut Lu Chuan into pieces. Nangang Lingaya should at least have a separate boudoir, 3 or 4 servants, a special cook to cook, and eat and drink well. If you dare to let her suffer, I will make you live a life worse than death. Lu Chuan couldn't help laughing when he heard this. Ha ha ha, what you said is too ridiculous. It's just a captive. I can guarantee that her limbs are intact, which is already good enough. You actually have the nerve to say such things. It's really ridiculous. Little beast, just laugh. You will cry later. Nangang Shan moved his hands behind his back to the front of his body and held the long sword tightly with one hand. You are also a swordsman, so let me see your strength. Nangang Shan, I want to know, where is the guy named Nangang Zan? Didn't he come out with you? Lu Chuan asked. Nangang Shan heard this, his eyes turned cold. You ask this? Don't you know the answer in your mind? Ha ha ha, you are at least the head of a big family, but you can still use such a low-end method, which is really ridiculous. Humph, there is no difference between low-end and high-end methods. As long as it can succeed, there is no low-end method. Lu Chuan pulled out the soul-breaking sword. Your end will not be much better than Nangang Zan. Lu Chuan glanced at the several people in luxurious clothes behind Nangang Shan. This group of people are the heads of the top 5 families in B City. That is, the heads of the 5 major families. These people are all powerful people in B City, and they are the heads of the top families. They stand behind you, and obviously, they support you. Lu Chuan sneered. After you die, I will settle accounts with these people first. Hearing this, the 5 people immediately whispered to each other. Oldly, what should we do? That kid is going to cause trouble for us. What are you afraid of? Do you think he will have that day? Our eldest brother Nangang Shan is so powerful, don't you trust him? Indeed, his threats are just bluffing. Why should we worry about this? He just shouts casually, don't pay attention to it. The 5 people didn't take Lu Chuan's words too seriously. In their opinion, Lu Chuan would not survive today, so there was no need to be afraid of Lu Chuan's threats. Lu Chuan held the soul-breaking sword and kept walking towards Nangang Shan. Nangang Shan also held the long sword tightly in his hand and walked towards Lu Chuan. I heard that the sword in your hand is a fairy level sword. I'm really envious. But soon, the sword will change hands. He stared at the soul-breaking sword in Lu Chuan's hand for a moment, his eyes revealing greed. Lu Chuan raised his long sword and pointed it at Nangang Shan. This sword will not be your sword. It will only be a guillotine to kill you. You are talking nonsense and looking for death. Nangang Shan immediately swung out the long sword, and the sharp sword energy gradually gathered on the sword body. He quickly mobilized the spiritual energy in his body to surge out and enter the sword body. The sword energy lingered on the blade. After gathering for a moment, he swung it out suddenly. Swish. The sword energy attacked Lu Chuan, even making an air explosion sound, and was close to Lu Chuan in an instant. In the eyes of everyone, this sword energy was simply shot out suddenly, and no one of them could react. If any of them were to stand in front of this sword energy, they would not have time to react, and would be cut in two by this sword energy. Lu Chuan was also secretly amazed in his heart. The speed and power of this sword energy were very swift. If he did not dodge in time, he would definitely be seriously injured. Lu Chuan did not hesitate, and immediately activated the martial arts extreme shadow flash. Swish. A series of residual images were left in place and were penetrated by the sword energy. Lu Chuan dodged to the side and breathed a sigh of relief. He luckily escaped. Lu Chuan looked up at Nangangshan. This guy was indeed a difficult character to deal with. Just this simple sword energy test was already very scary. Lu Chuan wiped the sweat from his forehead and stood up again. Nangangshan looked at Lu Chuan and couldn't help shaking his head and sighing. "You kid, you actually dodged it. It seems that your strength is really extraordinary. Then I won't waste time with you. Let me show you my unique martial arts." Phantom purple flowing light. On his sword blade, purple light lingered around the sword body and kept flowing. Swish. The next moment, Nangangshan Meng swung the sword again, and purple sword energy came like a rainstorm, leaving no place for people to hide, and forcibly covering them. Seeing this, Lu Chuan directly placed the sword body horizontally in front of him, pressed his left hand on the sword body, and the sun god fire instantly filled the sword body. Boom. The flames were jumping violently, and the scorching high temperature made many people around sweat profusely. Lu Chuan put down his left hand, held the hilt of the sword tightly with his right hand, and swung the sword suddenly. Boom. The fierce and amazing flame sword energy attacked the front. The sword energy of both sides collided with each other, and a violent explosion occurred. Countless sparks splashed around, like a rain of fire. The phantom purple light was shattered into smoke. In the aftermath of the sword energy collision, Nangangshan's figure suddenly rushed out and quickly attacked Lu Chuan. Swish! Exclamation mark. His figure was as fast as lightning, breaking through the remaining smoke of the sword energy and attacking Lu Chuan. Swish! Exclamation mark. He rushed to Lu Chuan in an instant, swung out the sword, and chopped down at Lu Chuan. Seeing this, Lu Chuan quickly raised the soul-breaking sword to block it. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere, and the sound of metal clashing was deafening, and the onlookers were all trembling. Swish! Lu Chuan retreated several steps before he unloaded the power of such a fierce sword. Nangangshan, however, did not give Lu Chuan a chance to breathe and rushed towards Lu Chuan again. His speed was much faster than Lu Chuan, and he was the only one who attacked, so Lu Chuan could only retreat and block continuously. Suddenly, Lu Chuan was sweating profusely, gritting his teeth, and dealing with it with difficulty. He didn't expect that the gap between him and the third rank of the martial saint realm would be so huge. Could it be that he didn't even have a chance to spar with him, and he had to directly release the seal of the soul-breaking sword and release the soul dust to besiege this person? The sword that has accumulated hundreds of soul dusts. Once released, everything will be emptied, and it can only be accumulated from the beginning. Lu Chuan really didn't want to release such a killer move. This trump card is the confidence he has in doing things. Chapter 877 Strength Gap. Nangangshan's attack was so fierce that Lu Chuan was defeated and could only resist stubbornly. Lu Chuan took several steps back, staring at the sword in Nangangshan's hand. This guy's speed and strength were one level higher than his own. If he didn't concentrate on dealing with him, he would be seriously injured. After several consecutive sword moves, Nangangshan stood there, staring at Lu Chuan. "Looking at your panting, your strength is only so far. You are really looking for death by fighting me. When I knew you wanted to fight me one-on-one, I was very surprised. I thought that there would be such a person in this world who didn't know how to live or die. But seeing that you are so young, I understand that young people are fearless. This kind of courage has both good and bad sides. Now you should taste the bitterness. Now, I will destroy you and then save my children," he said in a calm tone, without the previous anger. When he felt that he had won, his heart calmed down. This feeling of being able to control everything made him feel at ease. Seeing Lu Chuan was a little weak, the people around him all shook their heads and sighed. Lu Chuan's strength was still 1/4 behind, and he was completely suppressed in the fight. The outcome of this game was already determined, and there seemed to be no suspense. Dan Fangcheng stood in the middle of the crowd, frowning and looking at Lu Chuan with a serious face. Although he trusted Lu Chuan in his heart, he was still a little worried when he saw such a situation. Dan Fangming, who was standing aside, looked at Dan Fangcheng and asked, "Master, this situation is not right. If the fight continues, the result is self-evident. There is almost no suspense. Does he really have room to fight back?" Dong Fangcheng nodded heavily, turned his head to look at Dong Fangming, and said in a serious tone, "I trust his strength." Since he knows the strength of his opponent and dares to challenge him for a duel, it proves that he has the confidence and strength to do so. So, I believe in him, and he definitely has the means to agree to his opponent. Okay, although I don't know what trump cards he has, I believe in your vision. Since you are so optimistic about him, I have nothing to say, but you have to know that if Lu Chuan loses, then our Dongfang mansion will also be in trouble. At that time, this matter will be difficult to handle, and we must treat it with caution. Dong Fangcheng took a deep breath, raised his hand, and put it on Dong Fangming's shoulder and said, "Don't worry, the Nangang family doesn't dare to do anything to our Dongfang family now. They dare not do anything to us, but if they surrender to the Lu family and become their vassal and their pawn, it will be bad news for us." Dong Fangcheng stared at Lu Chuan's figure. "I believe he can do it. He will definitely defeat his opponent." Others on the field were worried about Lu Chuan. At this time, Lu Chuan's clothes were cut a lot in the previous battle. There were even some minor injuries on his abdomen, which could already bleed. Although the wound was not big, it had already set the tone for the difference in strength between the two. Lu Chuan's hard power was definitely not as good as Nangang Xian's. There was no doubt about this. Nangang Xian looked at Lu Chuan and suddenly became curious. "The wound on your body only slightly bleeds and heals immediately. I have fought for many years and have suffered countless wounds. This healing speed is definitely abnormal. I see that you have many secrets and treasures. If we can take you down, it will be a great opportunity for our Nangang family. It may help our family to move to a higher level. The immortal weapon in your hand alone is attractive enough." Nangang Xian looked at Lu Chuan with greedy eyes. At this moment, Lu Chuan has become a delicious piece of fat in his eyes. Lu Chuan held the sword in one hand and walked slowly towards Nangang Xian. "If you want to take something from me, you must be prepared to pay the price of your life." Lu Chuan raised the soul-breaking sword in his hand. He didn't plan to continue the fight. If he continued to fight, it would only be more disadvantageous to Lu Chuan. If he continued to fight, Lu Chuan would not only consume a lot of physical strength, but also suffer varying degrees of damage. Therefore, it is best to end the battle as soon as possible. If it takes too long, he will be seriously injured when he solves Nangang Xian. At that time, the remaining people of the Nangang family will see that he is weak and will probably take advantage of the opportunity. Lu Chuan raised the soul-breaking sword. On the fine line in the center of the sword, there is an obscure rune. Lu Chuan pressed his left thumb on the fine line and slid it from the root to the tip of the sword. Swish. On the trace, the rune emitted a faint blue light. Then, the sword body seemed to have opened a crack, and a deep and dark gap was completely opened. Swish. This is like a space crack that can lead to another world. Since it opened, endless energy has rushed out of it. The sword body trembled violently, and a strong linear light shot out from the crack. Lu Chuan held the hilt with both hands, and used all his strength to control the soul-breaking sword. Buzz Nangang Xian seemed to have sensed something was wrong, and quickly shouted, "What are you doing? Damn it. This energy is definitely not ordinary." Nangang Xian sensed the amazing energy released by the soul-breaking sword, and he immediately frowned. He was sweating profusely, and rushed towards Lu Chuan frantically. He absolutely could not sit here and watch Lu Chuan prepare a killing move. Sure. Nangang Xian used all his speed, and flew towards Lu Chuan quickly. Seeing this, everyone also noticed something extraordinary. The amazing energy released by the soul-breaking sword in Lu Chuan's hand surprised everyone around. Although their perception ability was not as good as Nangang Xian's, they also clearly felt the power of Lu Chuan's sword. Nangang Xian rushed towards Lu Chuan like crazy. He rushed to Lu Chuan, raised his sword, and was about to chop him down. Seeing this, Lu Chuan directly raised the soul-breaking sword to block it. Clang. The two swords collided with each other, and at the moment when the blades clashed, there was an explosion. Bang! Exclamation mark. The sword in Nangang Xian's hand broke instantly, splitting in half from the middle. Sure! Exclamation mark. The dagger flew out and landed on the ground next to it, with the sharp blade piercing the stone brick floor. Nangang Xian was shocked by the impact and retreated more than 10 meters continuously. He stopped, stared at Lu Chuan, and clenched his teeth. What are you doing? Why did you suddenly burst out with such a fierce force? He looked at the broken sword in his hand, and he was completely at a loss for words. Chapter 878 Immortal Weapon Killer Move. Nangang Xian looked at Lu Chuan, his eyes filled with anger, and asked, "What did you do?" The crowd watching around, seeing the two people's confrontation just now, all noticed something was wrong. At the beginning, Nangang Xian beat Lu Chuan back step by step. Now, with this sword, Nangang Xian was actually shaken away more than 10 meters, and the sword in his hand was broken. This gap is too big, and beyond the expectations of everyone present. Lu Chuan raised the soul-breaking sword in his hand, and aimed the gap in the sword body at Nangang Xian. You underestimate the level of the immortal weapon. The long sword in your hand is like scrap metal in front of the immortal sword, Lu Chuan said disdainfully. At this moment, Nangang Xian recognized the reality. Even though he was in a high position and controlled an area like a local emperor, he had never seen a treasure of the level of an immortal weapon. He had only heard of the power of immortal treasures, but had never seen it with his own eyes. Today, he witnessed the power of the immortal sword with his own eyes, which was really too amazing. Among the onlookers, Dan Fangcheng's heart was finally relieved. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, Lu Chuan's trump card has finally been revealed. I knew he would not do anything without confidence. His previous competition was probably just a test. This time, it's the real deal. I think Nangang Xian is in danger. Dan Fangming kept shaking his head and sighed. This fairy level sword is really powerful. Seeing it with my own eyes today is a feast for the eyes. However, the amazing short confrontation just now was just a trivial appetizer. Even if Nangang Xian is holding a broken sword now, Lu Chuan is still no match for him, so he must release soul fragments to launch a final attack on Nangang Xian. Otherwise, Lu Chuan still can't do anything to Nangang Xian. Then, in the cracks, a series of broken souls rushed out, and after flying in the air for a while, under Lu Chuan's mental control, they rushed towards Nangang Xian. Lu Chuan released 100 soul fragments, and under his spiritual control, they attacked Nangang Xian like a swarm of insects. Nangang Xian quickly scanned the front, and saw these dim souls coming towards him. He panicked and didn't know what to do. It was the first time he was attacked by a soul, and he had no way to deal with it. Swish! The first soul rushed up, and hit Nangang Xian's shoulder. The soul was like a piranha, locked on his shoulder, and kept twisting its body, as if it was sucking Nangang Xian's marrow. Then, the second, third, fourth, and hundreds of souls rushed up, and attacked Nangang Xian from all directions. And no matter how he swung his fists, or swung the broken sword in his hand, he could not stop the damage caused by the soul to his body. He felt that the spiritual energy in his body was being quickly drawn away. The dryness of the spiritual energy made him even lose his muscle strength. He became limp and staggered, as if he would fall at any time. He let out a hoarse roar. The soul greedily attached itself to his body, continuously absorbing the spiritual energy in his body. When the spiritual energy was absorbed and dried up, something terrible happened. He felt that the meridians throughout his body were being torn apart, and the broken meridians and spiritual veins were also greedily sucked away. Even his Danshan Kihei was being pulled and torn apart, and then absorbed by the soul. After being split apart, blood began to ooze out of Nangang Xian's skin surface, and the whole person completely lost his strength. He collapsed to the ground, wailing in pain, and his eyes looked at the sky in despair. The broken meridians and spiritual veins in his body meant that he could no longer absorb spiritual energy for self-cultivation. The destruction of the Kihei Danshan completely made him lose his cultivation. Countless capillaries ruptured, causing him to lose muscle strength. Now he has become a useless person step by step, even worse than a butcher in a meat shop. He lay in a pool of blood, looking at the sky, and sobbing in grief. I have become a cripple. Why is it like this? Lu Chuan, what on earth have you done to me? You bastard, devil. He raised his right hand with difficulty, and pointed his index finger at Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan walked slowly towards him. After sucking Nangang Xian dry, the souls on Nangang Xian's body dispersed and disappeared between heaven and earth. There are still more than 400 souls in Lu Chuan's soul-breaking sword that have not been released. However, Lu Chuan has now witnessed the ferocious power of these souls. Such an astonishingly powerful immortal weapon is indeed extraordinary and worthy of its name. Lu Chuan looked down at Nangangshan, who was lying in a pool of blood, his face full of despair and grief. He knew that everything he had was gone. You are still too confident that you can defeat me. Even before I actually made a move on you, you were still extremely confident. You didn't even bring anyone with you. From the beginning, you didn't plan to have a good talk with me. You just wanted to kill me. I don't need to save your life. Today, you will definitely die. Nangangshan clenched his back teeth. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth. He said with difficulty, "Is that person so important to you?" "For me, the important point is that your Nangang family has never taken me seriously from beginning to end. If I don't deal with you, how many people in this Kunlun domain will respect me? Take me to see my children. I only have this one request. My cultivation is all wasted. There is no meaning for me to live. I hope you can give me this chance." He begged Lu Chuan. This was his last wish. Lu Chuan smiled and said, "No problem. I can take you to see them before you die. Then thank you. Just let them go. This matter has nothing to do with them. Our Nangang family will no longer compete with you for territory in the future." Nangangshan completely lost his momentum and his words became weak. Lu Chuan stood up and said disapprovingly, "Stop talking nonsense. Dan Fangcheng, take someone to carry him to Danfang Mansion." Dan Fangcheng walked over quickly with 2 servants. The crowd watching around was silent at this moment, and no one dared to say a word. The horror of Lu Chuan's move just now has scared them all. In just a moment, a strong man of the 3rd level of the martial saint realm was abolished, seriously injured, and became a dying useless person. Who can withstand this kind of killing move? In the middle of the crowd, Lu Chuan raised his right hand and rubbed his forehead. A piercing pain deep into his brain made him unbearable. Controlling hundreds of souls to attack the enemy puts a huge burden on his brain and has a significant impact on his soul. The soul fragments of the soul-breaking sword cannot be released at will, and the burden on himself is still too severe. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 879, Instant Defeat. The battle between Lu Chuan and Nangangshan was completely over. Nangangshan's ending made everyone sigh. Such a tragic ending is really unbearable to watch. The atmosphere in the crowd was extremely depressing, and they didn't know what to say. The killing move that Lu Chuan suddenly showed was really too amazing, beyond their imagination. They originally thought that Nangangshan was bound to win, and there was almost no possibility of counterattack due to the suppression of hard power. But they still underestimated the power of the immortal weapon level. The immortal weapon is indeed worthy of its reputation. Once its power is truly released, it will be very amazing. And Nangangshan staged this drama at the cost of his own life. This refreshed the people of B-City's new understanding of immortal weapons. The people of Danfang Mansion carried Nangangshan's body and carried him towards Danfang Mansion. The rest of the Nangang family seemed at a loss for a while. They lost their backbone and didn't know what to do for a while. And the people of Lu Mansion followed closely behind Lu Chuan and followed. Lu Xiaoyu quickly came behind Lu Chuan and looked at him excitedly. "Mr. Lu, that attack just now was too fierce." Nangangshan, who was so powerful, could not hold on for more than 10 seconds and was on the verge of death. This power was too amazing. Kill Nangangshan, and the dominance of B-City will be yours, Lu Xiaoyu said excitedly. Lu Chuan just smiled faintly. "It was as I expected. Everything went smoothly. Since we won, B-City will be my territory in the future. You must stay here and become part of my power under Lu Chuan." Lu Xiaoyu nodded respectfully and said with determination, "Mr. Lu, don't worry. From now on, I will work hard to develop this Lu Mansion and take full control of everything in B-City, just to expand your sphere of influence." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "Very good. Your attitude is not bad. I hope you don't see anything bad." "Absolutely not. I will definitely do my duty." Soon, they came to the Dongfang mansion. Nangongshan was brought into the mansion with his arms supported. Lu Chuan followed beside him, and Dongfang Cheng walked over. Lu Chuan, what do you say? Take him to the small dark room, or bring those two out. Lu Chuan walked towards the small dark room. I'll bring those two out. Okay, then we'll wait here. Dongfang Cheng sat on the chair next to him, looking at Nangongshan who was slumped on the ground beside him, shook his head and smiled. It was not a wise move for your Nangang family to provoke Lu Chuan. Originally, if you could make friends with Lu Chuan, it would be a good situation for your Nangang family. What a pity, you actually took the initiative against Lu Chuan, and arrested the people around him first. You are so brave. Nangongshan lowered his head, and said in a low voice, now that things have come to this, there is no point in saying anything. From now on, the Nangang family can only rely on my father to support it. Lu Chuan entered the small dark room, and came to Nangang Lingaya. Nangang Lingaya, let's go, I'll take you out. Nangang Lingaya sat up from the bed, and looked at Lu Chuan, her eyes full of resentment. Take me out? Where are you going to take me? I'm waiting for my dad to save me. If he comes, you'll just wait for death, she said arrogantly. It was obvious that Nangongshan was her source of confidence. Before the news of Nangongshan's arrival, she didn't dare to talk to Lu Chuan like this. I'll take you to see your father. After seeing him, you should be able to talk properly. Nangang Lingaya's eyes widened immediately. What? My dad is outside? Where are you taking me to see him? Or has my dad thought it through and brought the person here for exchange? Impossible. The person is with my grandfather. He will never let him go. Nangang Lingaya fell into deep thought. Lu Chuan stepped forward and grabbed her arm. Your father is dying. He wants to see you for the last time. If you don't go out, he won't be able to see you. Hearing this, Nangang Lingaya suddenly pulled back her arm, staring at Lu Chuan with wide eyes. You are talking nonsense. What? My father is dying. Your father is dying. Don't talk nonsense. If anyone dies, it's you who will die, she shouted loudly. She absolutely did not believe that Nangongshan would die. The strength of the third level of the martial saint realm is almost invincible, at least in this area. Lu Chuan was a little impatient. If you keep talking nonsense, I will go out and kill Nangongshan directly and throw his body in front of you. How about it? Nangang Lingaya took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She looked up at Lu Chuan and asked, are you telling the truth? My father is a third level martial saint. I can't believe you when you say he is dying. Stop talking nonsense. You will know when you go out. Lu Chuan stepped forward and grabbed her arm and directly pulled her out. Back in the yard, Lu Chuan pulled Nangang Lingaya forward with force. Nangang Lingaya stumbled and almost fell to the ground. When she looked up at Nangongshan, her whole body froze in place, motionless, as if her brain had crashed. She looked at Nangongshan, her eyes full of disbelief. Nangongshan was covered in blood at the moment, like a bloody man. The familiar outline of his face told her that this was Nangongshan. She walked forward slowly, raised her hands, and looked at a loss. Dad, why is this happening? Nangongshan looked up at Nangang Lingaya, then lowered his head to look at the ground. He really had no face to see his daughter again. Daughter, this is the end. The fortune of our Nangang family has ended. We have provoked people who should not be provoked. This is the fate of our Nangang family. Being able to see you for the last time is already my last effort. In the future, whether the Nangang family can continue to stand firm will probably be greatly changed. The key still depends on your grandfather's attitude. I'm afraid that I will die in half an hour at most. You take good care of yourself. Nangang Lingaya squatted in front of him and began to sob softly. Nangongshan looked up at Lu Chuan and said weakly, Lu Chuan, please spare my children's lives. They are innocent. Let them go. Even if I, Nangongshan, become a ghost, I will not trouble you. Lu Chuan laughed disdainfully. It's really funny. Even if you become a ghost, you won't trouble me. You might as well say that you can't spare me, even if you become a ghost. I know you are soft-hearted, so I said that. I was really wrong to spare them. He pleaded again. The opportunity is very precious, but you didn't cherish it. If I was defeated today, would you spare my life? If you don't cut the grass at its roots, it will only grow again if the wind blows. There was a murderous look in Lu Chuan's eyes, and Nangang Lingaya's fate was already determined. Chapter 880, Continuous Killing. Lu Chuan's words made Nangang Xian lower his head, and he fell into despair again. He said in a deep voice, "Lu Chuan, they are still young, let them go. It can also be regarded as leaving a way out for yourself." Lu Chuan raised his foot, and kicked his shoulder, and said disdainfully, "Do I need you to leave me a way out? Ridiculous. I have never had a way out, I have always fought for the way out. Today, I will let you watch her die." Hearing this, Nangang Xian immediately roared loudly, "Asshole! My Nangang family will never forgive you. My father, after he comes out of the mountain, will definitely kill you, as soon as possible." He shouted arrogantly, and blood gushed out of his throat after shouting, making him cough loudly several times. "Nangang Lingaya, today is the day you die. When we were fighting on the top of the mountain, I thought we could have a good relationship and we could solve the problem of Li Zunying. But I didn't expect that your Nangang family is used to being the local emperor and is too arrogant. Now, you have to pay the price of your life for this. I'm irreconcilable with your Nangang family. If I don't kill them all, I will definitely be the one who suffers in the future." Lu Chuan walked up to her and raised his hand to grab her long hair. "Forgive me, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't target you. I was just confused for a moment. I'm just an obedient person. I'm not the one who made the decision in this matter. It was all my father's order. I just did it. I'm innocent. I don't want to go against you. You are so strong. I originally wanted to make friends with you," she hurriedly explained, her eyes wandering around, and she was constantly thinking about how to beg for mercy to save her life. However, Lu Chuan had made up his mind and did not intend to leave her a way out. The Nangang family has completely angered Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan will not give up until the family is destroyed. Therefore, these three people, Nangang Xian, Nangang Teng and Nangang Lingaya, must die here today. Dan Fangming and Lu Xianyu, who were standing next to them, felt a little dreamy when they saw Nangang Lingaya in such a miserable state. The noble lady who used to be high and mighty actually knelt in front of Lu Chuan today and begged for mercy in a humble manner. It is really sad that the powerful and noble of this family have become so destitute at this moment. Lu Xianyu looked at Lu Chuan and said, "Just do it directly. Don't let her continue to beg for mercy. What she said now is all false." Lu Chuan nodded slightly and continued to stare at Nangang Lingaya. "Of course I know that she will say anything to survive now, and I will naturally not spare her." Lu Chuan turned his head to look at Dan Fangming and said, "Go, let Nangang Teng out too." Dan Fangming walked towards the small dark room. After a while, Nangang Teng was brought out. He was handcuffed and shackled, and his movements were restricted. But if he wanted to break free, these iron instruments could not restrain him at all. However, Lu Chuan was here and could take his life at any time. Before he broke free, Lu Chuan could kill him. When Nangang Teng was brought out, his whole brain went blank when he saw Nangang Lingaya kneeling on the ground and Nangang Xian she slumped on the ground. He quickly looked up at Lu Chuan and shouted angrily, "What did you do?" Lu Chuan said casually, "As you can see, your father is here, but he is not my opponent, and now he is dying. You are a family of three, I will let you reunite, and I one by one." Nangang Teng roared, "Impossible, my father can't lose to you. You are lying to me. What did you do?" He roared in disbelief, completely unwilling to believe what was happening before his eyes. Lu Chuan shook his head helplessly and sighed, "If you don't believe it, forget it. You stubborn guy, I will stay and kill you last." Lu Chuan turned around and walked towards Nangang Xian, grabbed his hair, and lifted his head up. "Nangang Xian, I'll let you say one last thing to them. Don't blame me for being ungrateful." Nangang Xian was desperate at this moment and hesitated for a moment, but still didn't know what to say. He looked at Nangang Teng and Nangang Lingaya and said helplessly, "I'm afraid we will all die here today, but we must believe that your grandfather will avenge us and the Nangang family. Our Nangang family has met you, which is like meeting the king of hell. It's our bad luck. In the Kunlun domain, the strong control everything, including life and death. Since we are born here, we can only accept our fate." He sighed for a long time, and his sigh was full of sadness. Nangang Shan is more or less a legendary figure. Now he died in the hands of a young man, which is really despairing. Lu Chuan swung the dagger in his hand and cut his neck directly. Blood spurted out, and Lu Chuan let go and threw Nangang Shan to the ground. Then, he turned around and looked at Nangang Teng and Nangang Lingaya. The two looked at Nangang Shan's body and didn't know what to say. You two, do you have anything else to say? If not, I will send you on your way. Lu Chuan said indifferently. My grandfather is in Cheyenne City. If he knew that the three of us were dead, he would definitely kill you at all costs. Nangang Teng gritted his teeth and said. Lu Chuan shrugged disapprovingly. Don't worry, I killed the three of you just to start. That old thing is my ultimate goal. Lu Chuan stepped forward, stabbed out the dagger, and pierced Nangang Teng's chest. Swish. Pulling out the dagger, Nangang Teng fell to the ground with a plop. Plop. Nangang Lingaya next to him was frightened and trembled all over. Cold sweat broke out on her forehead, and her frightened eyes scanned the surroundings, not knowing what to look at. She didn't dare to look up at Lu Chuan, nor did she dare to face death. Lu Chuan looked at Dong Fangcheng next to him and said, this is the last one. You guys take care of it. Remember to throw the body far away and deal with it cleanly. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, he walked towards Nangang Shan's body. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Dong Fangcheng walked forward with a few servants, took Nangang Lingaya back to the small dark room, and ended her life quietly. Lu Chuan walked to Lu Xianyu's side and said, search Nangang Shan's body to see if there is anything. Lu Xianyu nodded slightly, then quickly stepped forward, squatted in front of Nangang Shan's body, and after a detailed search, he took out some sundries that he carried with him, such as handkerchiefs, necklaces, rings, medicine bottles, etc. But soon, he took a special box from Nangang Shan's body. He picked up the box, stood up and walked towards Lu Chuan. Boss, this thing looks very unusual. The box is made of exquisite mahogany with dragon and phoenix reliefs on it. The workmanship is first class. It is definitely a good thing. Chapter 881 Auxiliary Pills. Lu Xianyu handed the box in his hand to Lu Chuan. After Lu Chuan took the box, he looked around it carefully and confidently. This box does look unusual. The things inside are probably not ordinary either. After all, it is something that the head of the Nangang family carries with him. Let me open it and take a look. Lu Chuan opened the box and saw a light green pill lying quietly inside. The pill was about the size of a thumb and was just the right size. If you look closely, you can see some fine lines carved on it. Lu Chuan looked at Lu Xianyu. Do you recognize this pill? Lu Xianyu walked over, took a look, and shook his head slightly. I'm ignorant and don't know what this is. Lu Chuan nodded helplessly, turned around and looked at Dong Fangming, and asked, do you know what this pill is? Dong Fangming walked over quickly, got closer and took a look, scratched his head, and after thinking for a moment, he seemed to have thought of something. I seem to have seen it before. It was at an auction in Cheyenne City. I just received a grant from the general office. I went there to buy some good stuff. After I had some spare money, I basically go there every year, and I have seen this pill in Cheyenne City. This pill is called Jiling pill, and it is a primary immortal pill. It is said to be very helpful for cultivation, but I don't know the specific effect. After all, I haven't taken it. This is a good thing. It will be of great help to your cultivation path. You keep it well. This pill will provide a lot of help when you break through the realm in the future. Lu Chuan nodded slightly, closed the box, and stuffed it into his arms. He had already got a Shinling pill, which was used to help break through the realm. And Jiling pill, this type of pill, is used to assist cultivation. After taking it, it will enhance one's ability to absorb spiritual energy. The combination of the two will be very effective when breaking through the realm. Now that you have reached the martial saint realm, it is difficult to break through once. At this level of strength, anyone who wants to break through once must go through a process of rebirth. Not only will they reshape themselves, but they will also expand the storage of spiritual energy in their bodies and obtain an all-round improvement in their strength. Dong Fangming continued, if you have signs of a breakthrough recently, it is best to take the two pills together, and you will get the highest success rate. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Thank you for your explanation. It seems that this pill is indeed very important. If you can use this pill to break through the realm, it would be the best. Well, it is estimated that Nangang Shan bought this pill to use it to break through his own strength. After Dong Fangming finished speaking, he continued to ask curiously, now, the Nangang mansion in B City has been completely defeated, and there is no possibility of any support. The changes in the pattern of B City in the future will probably be determined by you. Lu Chuan said disapprovingly, the Lu mansion is now under my control. In the future B City will be divided into 2 pieces, with the Dongfang mansion and the Lu mansion each holding one. This arrangement is the best. Lu Chuan looked at Dongfang Ming and said, it's not good for one family to dominate alone. Your Dongfang family and Lu mansion are now on my side. I will leave B City after all, so you 2 families will continue to develop here. I won't interfere in too many things. I don't care about the future development of B City. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, Dong Fangming nodded slightly and breathed a sigh of relief. I feel relieved with your words. Thank you for eliminating the power of the Nangang family, which gave us the opportunity to develop. Otherwise, we would live here forever and spend our lives in mediocrity. Lu Chuan smiled and nodded. Let's not talk about this. I have shown signs of a breakthrough recently, and I need to make preparations in advance. It's not easy to reach a bottleneck. If the breakthrough fails, the loss will be too heavy. After all, this is a breakthrough at the level of Martial Saint. After Lu Chuan thought about it, he said, in this realm, if you want a breakthrough, the process will be quite painful, and it will consume a lot of spiritual energy. I have the means to meet these 2 needs. Now, I just need to find a blessed place to slowly complete the breakthrough. So, do you know of a similar place? Dong Fangming nodded repeatedly. Don't worry about this, I definitely know this. The spiritual energy around B City is dense, and there are countless blessed places for cultivation. The best ones are all contracted by the Nangang family. Now that the Nangang mansion has been destroyed, these places for cultivation are naturally released. Wait, I'll get you a map. He turned and left in a hurry. B City is a big city frequented by practitioners from all walks of life. There is plenty of natural spiritual energy here, and there are countless so-called blessed places and treasures for cultivation. If you want to break through your realm here, it is definitely a great place. Soon, Dong Fangming trotted out. He ran out of the study with a roll of white paper in his hand. After he ran over, he spread out the rolled up map in his hand. Look, these marked places are natural treasures. There is plenty of spiritual energy here. If you concentrate carefully, it will definitely be best to choose a place here to complete a realm breakthrough. After reading it, Lu Chuan nodded slightly. But, can I take this map away? Of course, let me recommend you a place. This is a hot spring, a depression on the hillside of Hutao Mountain. The location of this hot spring is very hidden. The spring water has abundant spiritual energy and yang energy, which is most suitable for breaking through the realm and breathing cultivation. This is also the most sought after place. It was previously controlled by the Nangang family. People in their Nangang family have priority to use it. If outsiders want to use it, they need to pay a high fee. Now, it should be unattended. Lu Chuan picked up the map, rolled it into a tube, and put it on his back. In that case, I'll go over there. It's getting late today, let's go tomorrow. We'll deal with the things in the city. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Then let's go tomorrow. 1 or 2 days won't matter. Lu Chuan turned his head and looked at the red sunset. At night, after Lu Chuan had dinner, he returned to his room to continue practicing. In B City, huge changes had taken place. After the death of the 3 core members of the Nangang family, the Nangang mansion in B City was basically in name only. After the people who followed Nangang Shan lost their backbone, they had no idea of revenge. Many people even prepared their bags and prepared to return to Cheyenne City overnight, for fear that Lu Chuan would find them and retaliate. The Nangang family in B City was completely destroyed. The towering tree of the Nangang family was already crumbling. Lu Chuan only had one last step to destroy this huge family, and that was to kill Nangang Qianying. Chapter 882, Cultivation on the Mountain. The next morning, Lu Chuan got up and took his bag to set off. He rode a fast horse in Dongfang Mansion and prepared to leave. Riding along the street towards the north of the city, many people noticed Lu Chuan along the way. Their attitude towards Lu Chuan was complicated. Some people admired him very much, some were extremely afraid, and some were deeply grateful to Lu Chuan, just because he was the enemy of the Nangang family. Lu Chuan rode to the north gate of the city. When the guards stationed here saw that it was Lu Chuan who came, they all opened the city gate without hesitation, not daring to slack off. Lu Chuan passed through the city gate and left B City. Hutao Mountain is more than 20 miles away from B City. It won't take long to get there by galloping. At almost noon, Lu Chuan saw the mountains. At the foot of the mountain, Lu Chuan found a tea house. The tea house was opened on the side of the road, and there were people walking at the door. It was not easy to see a tea house in this remote place. After getting off the horse, Lu Chuan entered the tea house, intending to have a cup of good strong tea to quench his thirst. Sitting in the lobby, the waiter came over with a bright smile. "Sir, what would you like to drink? Give me a cup of your best tea. I'll leave after I finish it." "Okay." He turned and left. Lu Chuan glanced at the lobby and suddenly saw a figure in the corner, sitting cross-legged there, with his eyes closed practicing. Lu Chuan was a little curious. In this noisy environment, he was actually practicing quietly. Even if he could be free of distractions, he would still be affected. It would be better to find a secluded place to practice directly. Not only Lu Chuan thought so, but the people around him also held this view. That guy is really pretentious. He sits cross-legged in this place to practice. I don't know what he is pretending to be. That's right, he can find a good place to start practicing when he goes up the mountain. Why is he pretending here? He must be a new martial arts practitioner. Ha ha ha, don't expose his shortcomings. If he is willing to practice here, let him practice. There was constant discussion around. The man opened his eyes. He was handsome, with sharp eyes, and wearing a green robe. When he opened his eyes, there was obviously a little anger in his eyes. "Who is talking about me? Are you looking for death?" he asked coldly. The table of people who had just talked about him all stood up, and the 4 people at the table came to him with great momentum. "What's wrong with saying a few words to you? Why are you pretending? Who are you trying to scare? Looking for death? I think you are the one who is looking for death. Why are you pretending to be here with us?" The man in green stood up and faced the 4 people calmly and with great momentum. "I'm about to go up the mountain to complete the realm breakthrough. I'm practicing here for a while, just to maintain my condition and prevent mistakes when breaking through the realm. What do you know? I'm afraid that your realm is not even the Martial King realm, and you dare to point fingers at me." The 4 people were very embarrassed when they heard this. Indeed, none of them was in the Martial King realm. "Haha, don't talk too early. Maybe you will fail to break through when you go up the mountain later." That's right. The few places on the mountain with abundant spiritual energy have been occupied by others. You might as well go outside and find a forest to practice. The man in green continued. "The place I want to go is the hot spring in the middle of Hutao Mountain. It is the place with the most abundant spiritual energy around B City. It is also the most suitable place for breaking through bottlenecks and realms among all the practice points. You bastards, are you qualified to point fingers at me? The money I spent on buying that place for 3 days is enough to buy your lives," he said with great momentum. The 4 of them immediately wilted and returned to their seats. They didn't say a word and didn't dare to say anything. The man in green was satisfied and sat back down. At this time, someone in the crowd said with a smile, "Do we need to pay to go to the training point in Hutao Mountain now?" "To whom?" "To the Nangang family. The Nangang family is about to perish. Now we are still giving them money. Isn't that a great injustice? How ridiculous." Upon hearing this, the man in green slammed the table in anger and shouted, "What nonsense are you talking about? The Nangang family is going to perish? Do you know what bullshit you are talking about? Unless you are an outsider, you can't say such things. Anyone from B City knows how powerful the Nangang family is," he shouted, angrily denouncing the man's ignorance. However, the man laughed triumphantly. "Young man, you still don't believe me, right? Go to B City and ask around. Everyone knows that Nangang Shan is dead. The Nangang family is going to be destroyed, and you don't even know this. What are you doing hanging around here?" The man in green stood up immediately and walked towards the man. "Just say that again if you dare. What are you doing? I'm telling the truth. What are you going to do? You're so aggressive. Are you going to hit me? No matter how dissatisfied you are, you can't change the fact that the Nangan family is going to be destroyed," he said confidently. The man in green was stunned and confused. The man in front of him didn't look like he was joking at all. Could it be that this was true? How could the Nangan family be destroyed when they are so powerful? The others also asked curiously. No way. When I came out of B City a few days ago, the Nangan family was still doing well. I haven't been back for a few days. Has B City changed drastically? Impossible. Are you trying to make fun of us? If you are lying to us, we will definitely skin you alive. Lu Chuan, who was sitting next to him, smiled and looked at the people in front of him. Some of these people were practicing in the mountains some time ago and didn't know about the situation in B City. The other part had just come out of the city not long ago and planned to go up the mountain to practice. Unexpectedly, the news of Nangan Shan's death would spread so quickly. It only took one day for it to spread so far outside the city. The man in green stood there for a moment, then picked up his bag and left quickly. Lu Chuan's eyes were on this person. This guy seemed to value the Nangan family very much, and the practice point he was going to was exactly where he was going next. Lu Chuan would naturally not give up the hot spring to him. He quickly drank the teacup brought by the waiter and then walked out of the tea house quickly. Outside the tea house, the man in blue walked up the mountain and quickly walked up the mountain path. And Lu Chuan followed closely. Hey, wait a minute. After following him for a while, Lu Chuan stopped him. The man in blue looked back at Lu Chuan and asked, "What do you want to see me about?" Lu Chuan walked up to him and said, "Is this the place you want to go?" Lu Chuan directly opened the map to show him. After taking a serious look, the man in blue nodded and said, "Yes, why are you asking this?" Chapter 883 Heading to the Hot Springs. Lu Chuan put away the map in his hand, then looked at the man in front of him and asked, "Are you going here to practice, or to break through?" "Of course it's to break through. The place is full of spiritual energy, and the hot spring water has the effect of nourishing the body. A breakthrough in the hot spring will be twice the result with half the effort, and the success rate will be greatly improved. If you have the capital, it would be best to go here to break through," he said patiently. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "I also know that this place is suitable for breaking through the realm, but this hot spring is mine now. I'm afraid you need to wait until I break through the realm before you can use it." Hearing this, the man in green frowned and stared at Lu Chuan. After looking at him for a moment, he asked, "What nonsense are you talking about? The Nangan family has sold me the right to use it for the next 3 days. I spent a lot of golden favors to buy it. If you want to go there to practice, you have to wait at least 3 days, and you have to apply for qualifications from the Nangan family. Moreover, you need to pay a large sum of fees. Otherwise, you'd better go home. Even if you go there, it will be a wasted trip." Lu Chuan smiled faintly when he heard this. The Nangan family you mentioned no longer exists. Their influence in B City has been almost completely eradicated. Therefore, the ownership of this hot spring no longer belongs to the Nangan family. Impossible. The Nangan family is very powerful. It is impossible for it to be destroyed suddenly. Even if you want to deceive me, you should not lie about this. The Nangan family is so powerful that no one in the entire B City can defeat it. Do you understand? So don't talk nonsense. The Nangan family can't be exterminated as you said. He didn't believe Lu Chuan's words at all and continued to walk up the mountain. Lu Chuan followed him and continued to go up the mountain. Since this person didn't believe it, there would be a result when he got there. After the Nangan family was destroyed, the Lu mansion took over quickly, and the several training points outside the city were replaced early. These people were originally hired by the Nangan family. Now it's still easy to replace them with people from the Lu mansion. The news of the destruction of the Nangan family was known to everyone in the city almost overnight. If this person doesn't know it now, there is only one possibility. He is not from B City, he is from outside. Only in this case, he will not know the current situation of the Nangan family. Following the mountain path, after walking through a rugged path, he gradually saw a bamboo house in the forest. The bamboo house is located on a flat ground, surrounded by a circle of wooden fences. Lu Chuan walked towards the fence. There were 4 big characters on the plaque above the gate. Mountain Hot Spring. Lu Chuan came to the front of the gate. The two guards standing at the door had been replaced by people who were no longer from the Nangang family. The man in blue walked over and quickly took out a token from his arms. There was a word Liang engraved on the token, and it was obvious that he was from the Liang family. Open the door. I bought the qualification in advance, and I want to use this hot spring for a while. The two guards at the door stepped forward and took a closer look at the token, then curled their lips and shook their heads. I'm sorry, I don't recognize your token. Are you kidding me? You don't even recognize my Liang family's token? What do you mean? I spent a lot of money to buy the qualification, and you won't let me in? Go check your reception list and see if the third young master of the Liang family is on it. I'm the young master of the Liang family, but I don't even take two gatekeepers seriously. It's really embarrassing. The two guards shrugged helplessly. I'm sorry, we don't know any young master of the Liang family. Please go back. If you don't leave, we will think you are here to cause trouble. The guard's words stunned the young master Liang. What? You still think I'm a troublemaker? Are you going to drive me away next? Asshole, you don't even take me seriously. I'm so angry. How do you do things in the Nangang family? Is this how you treat guests? I paid you so much gold just to get this opportunity. I have made so many preparations to break through. You don't let me in now. How can you do that? He gritted his teeth. His face flushed, and he was obviously furious. The attitudes of these two people made him very angry. The two looked at each other and shook their heads. Excuse me, sir, we are not from the Nangang family. Young Master Liang stepped forward quickly, grabbed the arms of the man who was speaking with both hands, and asked loudly, what did you say? You are not from the Nangang family? The guard quickly broke free from young Master Liang's restraints and shouted impatiently, don't you understand what I'm saying? I've already said that I'm not from the Nangang family. If you make trouble here again, don't blame us for taking action against you. Please have some self-knowledge, okay? Young Master Liang took 2 steps back, his eyes dull, not knowing what to say. He shook his head slightly and sighed. Impossible. The ownership of this hot spring belongs to the Nangang family. This cannot be changed. He looked up at the two people and continued to ask, since you are not from the Nangang family, then whose are you? Tell me, whose are you? Who else dares to occupy the Nangang family's things? Who has the courage? In B City, the Nangang family is the boss. The two looked at each other, both curled their lips with disgust, thinking that this guy was a lunatic. We are from the Lu mansion, that is, the Lu family. Our direct superior is Lu Xianyu, and the actual controller is Lu Chuan. Now the Nangang family has perished, and the head of the Nangang family, Nangang Shan, has died in Lu Chuan's hands. Such a major news, you actually don't know it. You are really ignorant. I guess you are not from B City? He should be from outside, otherwise, it is impossible that he doesn't know this. Forget it, don't talk nonsense with him. After the two finished speaking, they didn't intend to pay attention to Master Liang anymore. He took a few steps back and sat on the ground dejectedly, looking distressed. At this time, Lu Chuan came over. He looked up at Lu Chuan. You were right. The Nangang family is indeed gone. The locals of UB City are indeed more informed than me. Lu Chuan stood in front of him and shook his head helplessly. Now, it's my turn to use this hot spring. Are you qualified? As the young master of the Liang family, I'm not qualified. So why do you have the qualifications? Now this training point is under the control of the Lu family. It's strange to say, when did the Lu family value this point in B City so much? In the past, the Lu family never valued B City. After all, it is located in a relatively remote area. This training point is mine. Do you think I have the qualifications? Chapter 884 Breakthrough Opportunity. Master Liang, who was slumped on the ground, looked up at Lu Chuan and asked, what did you say? This hot spring is yours? Are you kidding me? Who are you trying to fool? He looked at Lu Chuan with disbelief. Didn't you just ask? They told you that the current owner of this hot spring is a man named Lu Chuan. He killed Nangang Shan and destroyed the Nangang mansion. I'm Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan said in a flat tone. Master Liang stood up in a flash, staring at Lu Chuan, and asked, what? You are Lu Chuan? You killed Nangang Shan? Impossible. Nangang Shan consumed countless resources and spent his entire life's hard work before he barely broke through to the martial saint realm. You look like you're only in your 20s. Could it be that you're already a martial saint? This is absolutely fake. You're impersonating Lu Chuan. You're at most a pawn under his command. He didn't believe Lu Chuan's words at all and didn't believe that he was Lu Chuan himself. However, his thoughts were also normal. After all, the number of people who broke through to the martial saint realm in their 20s in the entire Kunlun region could probably be counted on one hand. Whether you believe it or not has nothing to do with me. I'm going in now. Lu Chuan turned and walked towards the hot spring. When he arrived at the door, the two guards saw that it was Lu Chuan coming. They all tensed their muscles and stood upright, not daring to be careless. They were still in B City yesterday, but they witnessed with their own eyes how Lu Chuan defeated Nangang Shan. For the two of them, that battle was absolutely shocking. So, when they saw Lu Chuan in person at such a close distance, they both acted extremely nervous. Lord Lu, you're here? The guard asked in a trembling voice. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Yes, open the door. I want to borrow this hot spring. No problem, you can use it as long as you want. This is the Lu family's territory. Then, the two of them hurriedly opened the door and welcomed Lu Chuan in. Young Master Liang, who was standing next to him, was stunned when he saw this. He hurried over and asked, are you really Lu Chuan? It's unbelievable. You are so young, and you have defeated Nangang Shan. It's incredible. Can you take me in? I'm approaching a bottleneck period. If I don't break through the realm quickly, I'm afraid I will miss this opportunity. He asked hurriedly. Lu Chuan looked back at him and waved his hand. Just go away honestly. I want to use this hot spring. When I'm done, you can pay some money for short-term use. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, he walked in. Young Master Liang, who was standing in front of the door, sighed helplessly. Although he was turned away, he did not plan to leave here, but found a corner to sit down. He wanted to wait for Lu Chuan to come out. He never expected that he would meet such a big shot. When he came out, he sat down against a tree trunk, shaking his head and sighing. I actually met Lu Chuan. This man actually has the strength to defeat Nangang Shan. It's really incredible. As powerful as the Nangang family is, it can't always maintain its position as a local emperor. Is Kunlun domain going to change? I have never heard of the name Lu Chuan before. He murmured to himself curiously and seemed very curious about Lu Chuan's identity. At this time, Lu Chuan entered the courtyard. In the middle was a spacious hot spring pool. The water was light blue and there was a misty air floating on it. There were 2 rows of bamboo houses around, which were used for short rest and meals. Standing on one side of the hot spring were young maids lined up. They looked only 16 or 17 years old, wearing thin clothes. The clothes became slightly transparent under the moisture. Hurry, go, and say hello to Lord Lu. An old woman who was in charge of the hot spring said hurriedly. Then the 6 maids came over one after another. Welcome to Lord Lu. I pay my respects to you. After they came over one after another to greet him, they stood in their original places again, waiting for Lu Chuan to speak. They were all good looking, well proportioned and plump, and young, so they looked a little shy when they looked at Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan glanced at the hot spring and said, is it all cleaned up here? The female shopkeeper walked over quickly and nodded quickly, saying, it's all cleaned up. The water in the pool is very clean, and there is no debris. If you want to practice here, you can start now. We won't disturb you, and we'll create a quiet environment for you. Lu Chuan nodded slightly, then disperse. Don't disturb my practice. Then these few. The shopkeeper looked at the maids and hesitated. Let them go down. Staying here will affect my breakthrough. Okay, no problem. If you rest, I'll call them all out. Lu Chuan looked at the female shopkeeper and asked, are you planning to turn this into a brothel? Of course not. It's just that you came here, and I spent a little more time thinking about it. If you feel uncomfortable, I will never do it again. Lu Chuan waved his hand and said impatiently, especially at the key point of breakthrough, you need to be focused. If I'm affected, I will take your head as the price. Hearing this, the female shopkeeper was immediately panicked and knelt down and said, my lord, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. Lu Chuan sighed helplessly. "Take them down." She hurriedly got up and left with several women. The hot spring became empty and deserted. In such a quiet environment, it was the time for Lu Chuan to break through. He took off his shirt, entered the hot spring, and then sat cross-legged, maintaining a state of meditation. After entering the state of concentrated practice, Lu Chuan began to adjust his breathing to make it smoother. When he circulated the spiritual energy in his body, it can be seen that around Lu Chuan, ripples appeared in the pool water. The spiritual energy gushing out of the hot spring is being continuously absorbed into Lu Chuan's body. The path of practice is divided into static and dynamic, and both are indispensable. Static practice is similar to the current state, maintaining a state of meditation, absorbing the essence of heaven and earth, and sitting still. Dynamic practice can also be called actual combat practice. It is necessary to constantly consume spiritual energy, replenish spiritual energy, temper muscles and bones, and improve combat effectiveness in battle. Both of them are well cultivated, and only when they reach the bottleneck period will there be an opportunity for a breakthrough. If you grasp it well, you will successfully complete the breakthrough. If you don't grasp it, you can only wait for the next opportunity. After the battle between Lu Chuan and Nangang Shan ended, his first level of the distraction realm reached a bottleneck, and the opportunity for a breakthrough has also arrived. So Lu Chuan chose to come here and break through to the second level of the distraction realm. After sensing the opportunity for a breakthrough, Lu Chuan opened his eyes and took out the pill. Chapter 885 Breakthrough. Lu Chuan sat in the pool, his sculpted muscles reflected on the water, and his handsome face attracted many maids to sit in front of the window and peek. The maids who had just been removed were all standing by the window, curiously watching Lu Chuan through a small gap. After observing for a while, they would take turns, and then continue to peek with relish. Such a strong body is rare. This body looks very strong. Is this the man who killed Nangang Shan? He is so young, really admirable. He is so young, so powerful, and so handsome. It is hard to find anyone better than him in the entire Kunlun region. If I have the opportunity to be with him, I'm willing to give everything. You are dreaming. You will never have such an opportunity in your life. Let's just watch it. This is a strong man at the level of martial saint. His breakthrough process is absolutely shocking. I have never seen the breakthrough process of a strong man in the martial saint in my life. Today I have opened my eyes. Lu Chuan sat in the hot spring and took out the Shanling pill and Jiling pill. After taking them into his body, he closed his eyes again and began to enter the state of cultivation. Lu Chuan could keenly sense the continuous flow of spiritual energy in his body. The main thing in the realm of distraction is to shape the soul. When the soul is strong, the strength will be improved in all aspects. Although the main aspect of improvement is the soul, the improvement of the physical body is not much worse than before. Lu Chuan closed his eyes, and the endless spiritual energy was diverted by him to the brain. His soul seemed to have been strengthened like never before, and his perception of everything around him seemed to have been greatly improved. The whispering discussions of the maids hidden in the corner room were heard very clearly by Lu Chuan. Gradually, Lu Chuan felt a headache. The breakthrough of mental power was more painful and tearing than the breakthrough of the body. The pain in the brain is far from the pain in the muscles. No matter how much the flesh and bones are destroyed, it is not as good as the destruction of the brain. Lu Chuan gritted his teeth and began to endure this impact. The endless spiritual energy hit his forehead, making Lu Chuan sweat profusely. The spiritual energy entered his soul and continued to strengthen his soul power. Gradually, Lu Chuan's soul left his body, suspended in the air, absorbing all the spiritual energy around him. Then, the hot spring water around Lu Chuan vibrated violently, and the ripples on the water surface became messy. Then a strange scene appeared. The spring water actually floated in the air, like a stream of air, rotating around the body of the soul. In the process of absorbing the spiritual energy in the spring water gathered in the soul, which was a disguised form of the soul for a moment. Boom. Suddenly, the spring water suspended in the air suddenly exploded. Countless water splashed out in all directions. For a moment, the 2 rows of bamboo houses next to it were completely soaked. Lu Chuan took back his soul and felt that his mental power and soul had been greatly improved. His body was also greatly enhanced. Lu Chuan suddenly opened his eyes, and golden light shone in his pupils. The immortal golden pupil became brighter and clearer. Lu Chuan exhaled a long breath of turbid air and slowly stood up from the pool. Huolala. Lu Chuan walked out of the hot spring and took a few deep breaths, as if his brain had become transparent and bright. Lu Chuan shook his head and a smile appeared on his face. He completed the breakthrough, and the process was relatively smooth, mainly because Lu Chuan was well prepared. The two pills were mainly auxiliary, mainly because of the static and dynamic cultivation in daily life, which was done very well, so the breakthrough was so smooth. Static cultivation is needless to say. Lu Chuan relied on the branches of the sacred tree to perform static cultivation, and his cultivation speed almost exceeded 90% of the cultivators. As for dynamic cultivation, Lu Chuan had just finished a fight with Nangang Shan, and he had been fighting all the way. Therefore, both the body and the danshan were ready. What's more, Lu Chuan also had the Nine Heavens mysterious fire by his side. Even if he encountered obstacles in the breakthrough and caused damage to his body, he could repair it in the first time. Therefore, relying on the sacred fire and the branches of the sacred tree, Lu Chuan's cultivation breakthrough process was not difficult. After Lu Chuan got up, he came to the side of the pool and put on his clothes. It only took 2 hours to complete the breakthrough. This speed and efficiency far exceeded most people. Seeing this, the female shopkeeper hurriedly ran towards Lu Chuan. "Master Lu, are you done now?" she asked with a smile. "Yes, I finished. This hot spring can continue to be open to the public and used for profit." Okay, I didn't expect you to be so talented. In just 2 hours, you have completed the breakthrough to the martial saint realm. It's really amazing," she praised with a smile. Lu Chuan just nodded slightly and then walked towards the door. When Lu Chuan walked out of the hot spring, the two guards immediately bowed respectfully. "See you back, Lord Lu." After Lu Chuan walked out of the hot spring, he only took a few steps forward and saw the guy surnamed Liang next to him. He squatted next to the tree, playing with the ants on the ground out of boredom. After seeing Lu Chuan, he suddenly looked up, stood up and walked towards Lu Chuan. "Mr. Lu, you are out." He hurried over, fearing that he would miss Lu Chuan. "What do you want from me? If you want to use a hot spring, use it now, but you still have to pay the money. I won't count the money you paid to the Nangang family." Upon hearing this, Master Liang nodded helplessly. "No problem, pay it again. Just pay it once. Anyway, I still have some money." "Mr. Lu, I didn't expect to see you here. I want to ask you a few questions. I wonder if you can answer them?" Lu Chuan shrugged disapprovingly. "Okay, then the first question, how did you defeat Nangang Shan?" Lu Chuan shook his head helplessly. "Forget it, let me ask you. Okay. Where are you from?" Lu Chuan asked. I'm from Cheyenne City." Lu Chuan nodded slightly and continued to ask. "Okay, next question. What's the current situation of the Nangang family in Cheyenne City?" "I don't know. I only know that Nangang Shan led the team to B City, but I didn't expect them to lose the battle." "Then what? There shouldn't be any strong people left among the remaining people, right?" "Of course there are none, but it will be no problem for them to dominate Cheyenne City for a while. After all, there is still an old man in their family who can be the pillar. But it's hard to say when the old man will die. Maybe one day the Nangang mansion will be completely finished. This is all possible. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 886, The Wind Changes. Lu Chuan was walking down the mountain, and the man named Liang followed closely behind him without stopping. "Brother Lu, Nangang Shan is so powerful, how did you defeat him?" "I thought that Nangang Shan would be invincible in the world, but I didn't expect that he would die in your hands. He had a glorious life, but in his old age he was beaten to death by a junior. It's really sad." Lu Chuan looked back at him and said calmly, "This is not what you should care about. Aren't you going to break through the realm? Go. I'm not in a hurry now. I'm so lucky today that I can meet you. I have a lot to ask. For example, He rubbed his forehead and thought for a while, then asked hurriedly, For example, where are you going next? Are you going to Cheyenne City? The remnants of the Nangang family are still there. Since you have killed Nangang Shan, it is only right to clean up the remaining forces. Also, how should you deal with Nangang Qianying? It is said that this old man is very powerful. He usually doesn't come out of the mountain, but once he comes out of the mountain, no one can defeat him. No one is his opponent. His strength is terrifying. The Nangang family has been able to develop to where it is today, mainly because of Nangang Qianying's presence, which gives them such confidence. If Nangang Qianying is not killed, he will come back sooner or later. You killed his son and his grandson, and he will never let you go. He kept chattering behind him, which made Lu Chuan very impatient. Stop talking nonsense. I will find a chance to deal with Nangang Qianying, and I don't need your nonsense. Now, do what you should do. If you follow me again, be careful that I will attack you. Lu Chuan's tone was fierce, which frightened him so much that he froze in place, swallowed nervously, and quickly bent down to apologize. I'm really sorry, I will never bother you again. But, since you are going to Cheyenne City, you can come to me when the time comes. I will help you understand Cheyenne City. I grew up there since I was a child. My name is Liang Heo. If we have a chance to meet again, we will be friends. I will help you. He waved to Lu Chuan, then turned and left, not daring to disturb Lu Chuan too much. Lu Chuan continued to walk down the mountain. When he reached the foot of the mountain, Lu Chuan rode on his horse and began to return to B City. Now, Lu Chuan faced the Nangang family, and there was only one last enemy left, that is Nangang Qianying. This old thing is more than 100 years old and has practiced for most of his life. God knows how strong he is now. If he wants to deal with this old man, Lu Chuan estimates that he needs to be more fully and properly prepared. Otherwise, he may really fall into the hands of this old man. Lu Chuan rode his horse towards B City. In the evening, Lu Chuan returned to B City. B City is obviously much more lively now. The big families have completed the power change. Now the Lu family is the only one in power, followed by the Dongfang family. The original pattern of B City has changed. The forces that used to follow the Nangang family have been cleared. The Lu family got the wealth and assets accumulated by the Nangang family and became the richest family in B City. Even the newly appointed city lord came from the Lu family. The change of dynasty took only 1 or 2 days. The demise of the Nangang family exceeded almost everyone's expectations. The Nangang family, which was so powerful in the past, was really going to perish so quickly. For a time, Lu Chuan's name resounded throughout B City, and almost everyone knew it. Lu Chuan rode into B City on horseback and walked on the street. Passers-by all looked at Lu Chuan. When they saw that Lu Chuan was so young, they were even more amazed. At such a young age, he could destroy the entire Nangang family with his own strength. Such strength is really beyond reach. Lu Chuan walked towards the newly selected Lu mansion. After receiving the money, the Lu mansion bought a luxurious house for Lu Xianyu's office and daily living. After Lu Chuan entered the house, he happened to see Lu Xianyu sitting in the pavilion in the yard. There was a long line at the entrance of the pavilion. These teams were all big shots from the major families in B City. They came to Lu Xianyu one after another, just to sign a new cooperation contract. A man stood in front of Lu Xianyu, half bent over, and said with a wry smile, "Master Lu, I'm the second son of the Zhu family. I came here today to discuss cooperation. Our family runs a restaurant business in the city. In the future, we can cooperate more and make a fortune together." Lu Xianyu had a blank expression on his face, nodded slightly, and then wrote his name on the contract. In the future, our two families can become partners, but in terms of profit distribution, you should understand. I understand. Of course I understand. You have just risen and need to spend a lot of money to expand your power. We all know in our hearts that we will definitely give up the profits that should be given up. Lu Xianyu nodded slightly. After this person left, another person came forward and began to discuss cooperation. Overall, it was still very smooth. Lu Chuan was still in charge. With this strong man as the bottom line, these people had no confidence. Lu Chuan walked through the queue and entered the pavilion. Lu Xiaoyu stood up in a flash, looked at Lu Chuan, and his expression became serious. Lu Chuan, you are here. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Let's stop here today. I want to talk to you about something. Then, everyone turned around and left wisely. It was just that the people in the back felt it was a pity, because they had been waiting for so long. After everyone dispersed, Lu Chuan sat in the pavilion, and Lu Xiaoyu stood aside, and poured tea for Lu Chuan. If you have anything to talk about, just say it. Lu Chuan looked at Lu Xiaoyu. You are my father's friend, and I still respect you. You should take care of the operation of the Lu mansion yourself, and I won't say much. No problem, just leave it to me. Although it is much larger, I will do my best. The main reason I came here is to say that there is also a Lu mansion under my control in Lincheng, and both of your families are now under my command. You should find a time to establish contact with them. Lincheng? No problem, I can send someone out to establish contact right away, and we can take care of each other in the future operation. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. The Lu mansion in Lincheng has been handed over to my fiancée to manage, so if anything happens in the daily operation, her orders will be the main focus. Lu Xiaoyu nodded heavily. I understand, don't worry, since she is your fiancée, I will definitely not disobey her orders. Lu Chuan nodded with satisfaction. That's good, I believe in you, and you should not give me extra worries when running the Lu mansion. Chapter 887, Wandering Merchant. Lu Chuan stood up and prepared to go back to his room to rest. Did you go to Hutaoshan Hot Spring today? Lu Xiaoyu asked. Yes, I went there. Have you broken through? Lu Xiaoyu looked at Lu Chuan expectantly. When Lu Chuan fought with Nangangshan, it was obvious that Lu Chuan was no match for Nangangshan in terms of basic strength. In the end, he relied on a strange move to kill Nangangshan. But strange moves can only be used to surprise the enemy and cannot be used repeatedly. If you don't work hard to improve your basic strength, it won't work. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Of course I broke through. It was relatively smooth, mainly because I was well prepared. After the battle with Nangangshan, I already felt that it was time for me to break through. So when I got here today, although it was a bit painful, I still successfully completed the breakthrough. Lu Xiaoyu smiled and nodded with a sigh of relief. It's good that you have broken through. The stronger you are, the better for our Lu mansion. But you still have to know that with your current strength, you are still a long way from fighting Lu Fusheng. If the Danfang family had not risen again, after lying dormant for decades, and pinned down the Lu family, I'm afraid you would be in danger. You have made a name for yourself here, and it won't be long before your reputation spreads throughout the world. Sometimes, being too famous is not a good thing. Lu Chuan patted Lu Xiaoyu on the shoulder. As for Lu Fusheng, this is not something you should worry about. Just take care of the Lu mansion well. Lu Chuan walked towards the east wing, opened the door, and went into the room to rest. Lu Xiaoyu took a deep breath. Although he felt pressured, he could not be affected by it. Now it was the time for their Lu mansion to swallow up everything and become the first family in B City. At this critical point, the more he managed it, the better the result would be. The next morning, there were still many visitors in front of the gate of Lu mansion. There was a long queue at the gate early in the morning. In the future, how B City would do business and how to operate it would all depend on the eyes of the Lu family. If they were not in a hurry to come and seek cooperation, they would only wait to be eliminated. After Lu Chuan got up early, he left the Lu mansion. As always, he became a hands-off shopkeeper. He was responsible for building a kingdom, not managing it. Lu Chuan came to Danfang mansion and found that it was also very lively. After entering the mansion, there were also many visitors in the courtyard. The Danfang family also benefited from this, and its status in B City was greatly improved. In the past, the Lu family and the Danfang family were mortal enemies, but now the situation is different. The Lu family controlled by Lu Chuan is already a partner of the Danfang family. After Lu Chuan came to the yard, Danfang Cheng saw Lu Chuan and hurried over. He couldn't suppress his joy on his face. He walked over quickly and shouted happily, "Mr. Lu, you are here." He looked at Lu Chuan with a smile on his face. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "You guys are quite lively here." "That's not the case. These fence sitters will follow whoever is strong. They are all trying to make a living." Lu Chuan took him to find a chair in the corner and sat down. Yesterday I broke through to the second level of the spirit transformation realm, which is the strength of the second level of the martial saint realm. Now, if I go to fight Nangang Xian again, he won't have the upper hand. Dan Fangcheng nodded slightly. Congratulations on your breakthrough. It is extremely difficult to complete the breakthrough at the martial saint realm. Lu Chuan, what are you going to do next? Go to Xianan City? That's a big city, different from B City. The forces distributed there are much more complicated. The Nangan family is only the first echelon there. Although they are strong, other families are not weak either. This Nangan Qianying will never let me go, and I naturally won't let him go either. Sooner or later, I will have a fight with him. Why not? I'll take the initiative and look for opportunities to avoid being passive. Lu Chuan looked up at Dang Fangcheng and asked, do you know the Liang family in Xianan City? This? I really don't know. I don't know much about Xianan City. There is no interference from our Danfang family there. I know almost nothing about the situation there, and I have never been there. Lu Chuan continued to ask, what about the Lu family? Doesn't it have any power distribution in Xianan City? No, that place has its own warlords and an independent army that controls Xianan City and the surrounding towns. It is difficult for external forces to intervene. If the Lu family and the Danfang family want to intervene, they will have to fight with them. For the two families, the benefits of conquering are not that great, so they gave up this area. Lu Chuan knew almost nothing about the structure of Xianan City, and Dang Fangcheng knew very little about it. If the two did not arrive in Xianan City, they could only speculate here without reason. We still need to go there and take a look at the actual situation of Xianan City. No problem. Are you planning to leave soon? Dan Fangcheng asked. If there is nothing else to do, then let's go in the next 2 days to prevent that old man from making too many preparations. We don't know whether Li Zuning is alive or dead, but no matter whether he is alive or dead, I will wipe out the Nangang family. Recently, a group of wandering merchants came from outside the city. It is said that they spent a lot of money to buy the short-term operating rights of the Xianfu auction ones run by the Nangang family. They are going to hold an auction in B City to sell some precious things they carry with them. Dan Fangcheng continued to ask, aren't you going to take a look? Lu Chuan hesitated for a moment, thought about it, nodded and said, really? Then let's go and take a look. I'm short of martial arts and equipment now. If I can find some equipment to improve my strength, it would be a good thing. No problem. The first auction will start in the evening. We can go and take a look in the evening. Join in the fun. The things sold by wandering merchants are uneven. It's hard to say whether we can find good things. Then, the two sat in the yard and chatted for a while. In the evening, there were fewer visitors in the yard. Lu Chuan and Dan Fangcheng also stood up and prepared to leave. At this time, Dan Fangming came over with a smile. Huh. It's really busy today. I'm almost exhausted. Mr. Lu, this is all thanks to you. This is the first time I'm so tough in front of the dignitaries in B City. Dan Fangming said with a smile, his face bright. What are you two going to do now? It's almost time for dinner. Dan Fangcheng said with a smile. Didn't the wandering merchants come these 2 days? Let's go and see what they are going to sell. Really? Then go and take a look. I guess there will be a lot of good things. Now we are not short of money. It's okay to buy anything. Chapter 888. The auction begins. Lu Chuan and Dan Fangcheng went out together, walked on the street, and headed towards the direction of Xianfu auction house. The setting sun made the street turn red. Lu Chuan walked in the setting sun and slowly came to the front of Xianfu auction house. There were quite a few visitors here. As soon as Lu Chuan arrived at the door, he was surrounded by others. Many people came forward to greet Lu Chuan. A man in green clothes bowed down to Lu Chuan, looking at Lu Chuan with a smile on his face. Mr. Lu is here. Please come in. Mr. Lu is here at the auction today. It is really a great honor. Lu Chuan just smiled faintly, without paying much attention to the people around him, and walked directly into the auction. The auction house is very spacious, and the audience seats can accommodate hundreds of people. On the spacious stage, there is a red carpet, and hanging above the head is a crystal chandelier made of special materials. Candles burn in the crystal, emitting a faint and gorgeous light. People came in one after another, sat on the neatly arranged mahogany chairs, waiting for the auction to begin. After Lu Chuan and An Fangcheng walked in, they immediately became the focus of the whole audience. Lu Chuan slowly walked down the stairs and came to the VIP seat at the front. Lu Chuan and An Fangcheng sat in the first row, and no one dared to make any criticism. After sitting down, they waited for a while, and people arrived one after another. At this time, a man wearing a fur robe and looking like a primitive tribe came up. "Good evening, everyone. My name is Zhu Leo Wu, a member of the Wandering Merchants. We traveled all the way here from the giant tree forest in the north. We came out of the tribe, so the things we brought are more natural, and some are roughly processed. I have little knowledge, so let's just take out the treasures on us for you to appreciate and auction." Behind him, a girl came up, pushing a cart, looking at the people in the audience timidly. The host picked up a piece of fruit on the cart. A round fruit, like a small melon, but exuding an attractive fragrance, instantly attracted everyone's attention. "This is just an appetizer, a local specialty of ours. A bunch of melons and fruits can replenish a lot of physical strength after eating them. After a fierce battle, when the spiritual energy in your body is exhausted, you can eat a bite of sweet fruit to restore your own spiritual energy." Lu Chuan held his chin and looked at the fruit curiously. "It looks good. We replenish our spiritual energy by drinking elixirs, but they actually eat melons." Dan Fangcheng found it novel. Soon, people raised their signs and took pictures of the first treasure. Lu Chuan did not raise his sign. He had no interest in this thing. Even if he wanted to bid, he would just taste it at most. The second treasure is a bone stick. He took out a white stick that was almost 2 meters long. This is made of the leg bones of the giant rhinoceros. It is extremely hard and can crush rocks. Lu Chuan frowned slightly. This thing was also primitive and wild. It was useless to him. A stick made of bones was not a weapon he liked. Obviously, there were fewer people raising signs this time. He took out the third item. This is an extremely rare lotus seed of the Shiangsi lotus. After taking it, it will speed up your cultivation and help you break through the realm. It is a rare food. The Shiangsi lotus grows in high mountain hot springs and blooms once every 5 years. It is extremely rare. Every time we look for it, we have to pay the price of our lives to find it. So, my starting price for this lotus seed is 30,000 taels of gold. Its effect is almost the same as the Xianling pill. It is absolutely useful for warriors above the Wuwang realm to break through the realm. The most important thing is that it does not burden the body. If you are lucky, you can directly accumulate more than a dozen lotus seeds and take them when you break through, which guarantees a 100% breakthrough. 30,000 taels of gold is already cheap enough. If it is replaced with the Xianling pill, it will start at least 100,000 taels of gold. For a while, everyone in the audience was eager to move and began to raise the price. Lu Chuan waited quietly. He did not need to replenish his spiritual energy now. It was completely enough to have the branches of the sacred tree to supply him with spiritual energy. Therefore, this lotus seed was not very attractive to Lu Chuan. Instead, Dan Fangcheng, who was standing by, raised the sign in his hand with great interest. The auction hall, which was originally lively, suddenly calmed down. When everyone saw that it was Dan Fangcheng who raised the sign, they all kept silent and did not say a word. None of them dared to compete with Dan Fangcheng for the sign. After all, Lu Chuan was sitting next to Dan Fangcheng. Dan Fangcheng called a price and immediately won the lotus seed. Then, the host took out another treasure. This time, it was an arm guard. This is the fantasy scale arm guard made of the scales of the fantasy sea dragon. It can provide good defense and will be very effective when used to block the attack of the fighting spirit. Lu Chuan looked over. The fantasy scale arm guard looked light and covered with light blue scales. If it was equipped on the right arm holding the sword, it would be much more convenient. At least during the battle, it gave Lu Chuan a chance to defend and block. Otherwise, he could only rely on the extreme shadow flash to avoid the attack. So Lu Chuan locked onto this piece of equipment and was not going to let it go. Lu Chuan raised his sign. Then, everyone who was still ready to make a move calmed down, and no one dared to act rashly. Lu Chuan himself raised the sign. If anyone dared to bid, it would be disrespectful to Lu Chuan. They didn't dare to provoke Lu Chuan now. After all, Lu Chuan had just killed Nangang Shan and destroyed Nangang Mansion. If they dared to offend Lu Chuan, they would have to wait for a catastrophe. So, they all stood there in a daze, not daring to move at all. Congratulations to this young man. You have successfully bid on the Huan Lin arm good. It seems that today's auction went very smoothly. By the way, the next treasure will be very special. Only people with discerning eyes can see its extraordinariness. Then, he carefully took out a black iron box. After opening it, everyone stretched their necks to look over. However, when they saw that there was a branch in the box, they were all dumbfounded. That seems to be just a wooden stick. Am I seeing right? It's just an ordinary wooden stick. Can it be auctioned? Isn't this an insult to our IQ? Can this be considered an auction item? Hey, what's so special about this thing? The host hurriedly introduced it with a smile. This branch is very unusual. It can release a lot of spiritual energy. The most terrifying thing is that after our people touched it, they tried to absorb the spiritual energy inside, but something strange happened. Our people exploded and died, and they lost their lives directly. Chapter 889 Fake Goods. When the host on the stage took out the branch, everyone in the audience showed a confused expression. Lu Chuan frowned immediately, his eyes staring at the branch. According to this person's description, this branch is too similar to the one he got. Could they both be the same branches of the sacred tree? Lu Chuan couldn't help but shook his head. How could a branch of a sacred tree appear in such a place? But it's hard to say. What if what they just found is real? Dong Fangcheng next to him pulled Lu Chuan's arm and asked, "This thing seems very similar to yours." It's indeed very similar, but it's hard to say whether it's the same thing. Dong Fangcheng immediately suggested, "Why don't we take a picture of it first? Take it back and study it, then we'll know whether it is or not." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Anyway, he has enough money now and doesn't need to worry about money. Let's take a picture and see the situation. This branch is really very strange. It contains a great deal of spiritual energy. However, we have not yet found a way to absorb the spiritual energy. Therefore, this branch is actually useless in our hands. So, we will sell it at a lower price. The knowledgeable scholars in our clan once said that there is more than one branch of this kind. If we can gather and combine multiple branches, it may cause more amazing effects. What a pity, what a pity. We only have this short section. We really can't see how much potential it has. The host was talking on the stage, and the audience was already talking about it. This branch looks so ordinary, there is nothing special about it. Haha, I think he is exaggerating. This branch is probably broken off from a spiritual tree. There is nothing special about it. If it's 5,000 taels of gold, I would consider taking a gamble. Otherwise, there is really no need to make a move. The audience was not very interested in this thing. Such an ordinary branch, just because it has strong spiritual energy, can it be sold at a sky-high price? Obviously, these people will not pay for it. The starting price is 10,000 taels of gold. This price is as low as it can be. Everyone, raise your sign and bid for this treasure. However, the crowd was very cold. No one was willing to raise their sign, and they didn't give him face at all. The host stood on the stage with a disappointed expression. Everyone, this is really an extremely rare treasure. 10,000 taels of gold is really very low. Is it true that no one wants it? Forget it. Let's keep it and study it carefully. You can't understand such a treasure. We can only study it ourselves. His tone revealed disappointment, as if he was sad that no one knew the value of it. At this time, Lu Chuan raised his sign. I'll bid 11,000 taels. As soon as these words came out, the host suddenly looked up, looked at Lu Chuan, and smiled. Congratulations, young master, you won this branch. He then looked at the people around him and said disdainfully, "You guys, you really don't know what's great, and let the people who really know the goods pick it up. There's no need to count to 3 to finalize the result. I will directly declare that this young master won this branch. Okay, let's move on to the next treasure." Lu Chuan sat in the audience, thinking in his heart, if this branch is exactly the same as he described, then there is no doubt that it is the branch of the sacred tree. Lu Chuan said in a firm tone, insisting on his judgment. It's possible. It seems very close to his description, but I still have to see it with my own eyes to make a conclusion. Let's wait and see. Dong Fangcheng waited patiently, leaning back in his chair and closing his eyes to rest. Soon, in the evening, the auction gradually ended. The last auction item was pushed up, and under the atmosphere of the host, it was sold at a high price. Everyone, today's auction is over. We will continue with the next one tomorrow. I hope you can continue to support us. If you don't find the treasure you expect, please come again tomorrow. Then, under the guidance of the staff, Lu Chuan came to the backstage room. The room was piled with various sundries. After Lu Chuan came in, he could see more than a dozen of the host's clansmen standing here. They were all wearing animal skins, furry hats, rough skin, and confused eyes. After Lu Chuan came in, the host who was standing on the stage just now came over. My name is Fan King, and I'm the captain of our Fan family's caravan. It took a lot of hard work to rush all the way to B City. It's really not easy to bring these treasures here. Your name is Mr. Lu, right? Please follow me. This branch is very special. I will give it to you personally. He took Lu Chuan to a room next door. After opening the room, Fan King took out the black box from his arms. He carefully opened the box and showed the branch. As soon as he opened the box, a powerful spiritual energy surged out. The feeling was exactly the same as when Lu Chuan first saw the branch of the sacred tree on his body. Give it here. I'm taking it away. No problem, but I want to ask you a question. You value this ordinary branch so much. Did you see some clues? None of the people in the auction hall have a discerning eye. They all can't see the preciousness of this thing. It's just that you have a keen eye. But I'm very curious. Do you have a deep understanding of this branch? I'm just curious. Lu Chuan took the box from his hand and said, I don't know much about this branch. I'm just curious, so I spent money to buy it. My friend Dong Fangcheng has already paid. You can go and count it later. No problem, but it's a pity that an old man in our clan knows the origin of this branch, but no matter how I ask, he is unwilling to tell me. Lu Chuan looked at him curiously and asked, what is the origin of this branch? Does he know? He said he knew, but when I asked him, he was very scared and didn't dare to say it. He also said, if this thing is made public, people will hunt him down. No one is chasing me. I didn't meet anyone along the way. Of course, no one knew I brought this thing out secretly. The old man in our tribe originally said that he would take this branch back to its original owner, but in my opinion, why should he return it to its original owner? Since I found it, it belongs to me. But now it is definitely yours. After all, you paid for it. Fan King said with a smile. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. It seems that the old man in your tribe knows a lot. He is even able to return this branch to its original owner. If he is not lying, then he is really an extraordinary person. Chapter 890 The Conspirator. Fan King's words made Lu Chuan fall into deep thought. There was actually someone in the Fan family who could bring the branch of the sacred tree back to its original owner. Wasn't the original owner the sacred tree? Could it be that the guy knew where the sacred tree was? The source of the branch, that is, the sacred tree, had become an unsolved mystery in Lu Chuan's heart. He wanted to see what the sacred tree looked like with his own eyes one day, but there was no chance. But now, the opportunity was delivered to his door. Lu Chuan looked at Fan King and said, can you bring the man from your tribe with you when you go back? The scholar in our tribe? I don't know if I can bring him back. He probably won't listen to me. He is a noble wise man in the tribe. He is well versed in ancient and modern times, and knows everything about astronomy and geography. And I'm just a caravan captain who hawks things everywhere. There are many caravan captains like me in our tribe, but there are very few wise men like him. If you want to see him, how about this? We will start our return journey in 2 days. You can go back with us. Although the journey may be a little far, but the two of us can ride fast horses to speed up. After thinking for a moment, Lu Chuan nodded slightly. No problem. Let's talk about it then. Let's not think about this now. I have other things to do, and I probably can't go to your place for the time being. Fan King shrugged helplessly. Okay then, I hope we can see each other again in the future. By the way, after you take this thing back, you can check the goods first. This is our business philosophy. It's okay to let customers check the goods first and pay later. he said with a smile. Lu Chuan looked down at the box in his hand and said, I can check the goods now. Lu Chuan put the box on the table next to him, opened the box, and took out the branch. Then, he took out the spiritual branch in his arms, connected it to one end of the tree trunk, and began to absorb the spiritual energy in it. At one end of the spiritual branch, flowers bloomed, and spiritual energy continued to emerge from it. Lu Chuan placed his palm on the flower, and began to absorb the spiritual energy in it as usual. But at this moment, suddenly a strong spiritual energy suddenly attacked, gushing out along the flower, and even shattered a few petals. Swish! A violent spiritual energy rushed out, along the spiritual vein in Lu Chuan's palm, and rushed into Lu Chuan's body. Lu Chuan frowned immediately, felt a sharp pain in his arm, and he hurriedly retracted his arm. At the same time, he felt that this violent spiritual energy was constantly wandering in his body, destroying Lu Chuan's body everywhere. For a time, his whole body was tingling, making Lu Chuan unbearable. Ah! Lu Chuan shouted angrily, and quickly mobilized the spiritual energy in his body, and began to suppress this violent spiritual energy. Quick, why are you all standing there? Do it. If you miss this opportunity, there will be no other chance. This guy has fallen into our trap. We succeeded. Hurry up and do it. This time the reward is amazingly rich. We are going to make it. Fan King shouted excitedly. Lu Chuan's forehead was sweating profusely, and the pain all over his body made his eyes weak. He vaguely saw Fan King's figure, and saw that he gathered everyone in his caravan, all raised their weapons in their hands, and attacked Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan quickly mobilized the Nine Heavens mysterious fire in his body, and instantly repaired the damage in various parts of his body. Lu Chuan suddenly opened his eyes, and glared at Fan King in front of him. Arsehole, you are looking for death. Lu Chuan roared. Fan King's sprinting steps suddenly stopped. He looked at Lu Chuan, and his brows were furrowed. You're fine? Impossible. No one can withstand the invasion of this violent spiritual energy. How did you do it? Captain, this is different from our plan. How come he's fine? Boss, what should we do? Should we continue to fight? Aren't we going to succeed? Why is this happening? Fan King and the people behind him were all dumbfounded, looking at Lu Chuan in surprise, not knowing why Lu Chuan suddenly recovered. What did you do? Logically, you should have fainted now. He pointed at Lu Chuan in disbelief, totally unable to believe it. Lu Chuan walked towards him quickly. Tell me, who sent you? You dare to attack me? You're looking for death. Lu Chuan rushed forward quickly, and before Fan King even made a defensive gesture, he was quickly grabbed by Lu Chuan's neck. Let me go. Let me go. I know I was wrong. The moment Lu Chuan grabbed his neck, he knew the huge gap in strength between the two. Fan King immediately lost the will to resist, and just kept struggling, hoping that Lu Chuan would show mercy. Tell me, who asked you to come? Are you planning to take the branch on my body? Lu Chuan asked in a scolding tone. I said, you let me go first. Lu Chuan threw him away with great force. Bang! Fan King fell on the wooden table and the table was smashed to pieces in an instant. Lu Chuan continued to walk towards him. The caravan members standing next to him were all trembling with fear at this moment, and dared not look at Lu Chuan anymore. Lu Chuan came in front of Fan King, squatted beside him, and looked at Fan King who was covered in blood. Tell the truth and I will spare your life. Otherwise, I will let you die in agony, the most painful death possible. Lu Chuan's words made Fan King tremble all over. He quickly said, Mr. Lu, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I will never work for that man again. Tell me, what's his name? His name is Suchang. I only know his name. I don't know where he is from, or what his strength is. Suchang? Is he a man or a woman? It seems, a woman. I can't see her face. I can only hear her voice. She should be a woman, very tall, wearing a black dress, and her voice is very cold. Suchang? I don't know anyone with the last name Su at all. Where did you meet that woman? She found me when I was selling things in Cheyenne City. She made a plan for me and asked me to act according to the plan. If it succeeds, I can get a lot of money and go home early. If it doesn't work, I will die. Are all you said true? Are you not holding back at all? Fan King said hurriedly. That's it. This is the truth. I have said everything I can. That branch is a fake, but it is made to look like the real thing. Others don't know the value of the product, only you do, so you should be the target. Lu Chuan took a deep breath. Su Changyu is another one who came for the branch of the sacred tree. Interesting. I have to ask her for clarification. Chapter 891 heading to Cheyenne City. In the backstage of the auction, Lu Chuan squatted in front of Fan King and continued to ask, besides her, have you met anyone else? No, just her. She is very confident and not an ordinary person. She is very strong and it is easy for her to beat me. I didn't want to help her at first, but I was defeated by her and had no choice but to help her. Please spare me. I'm helpless. He raised his hands with difficulty, put his hands together, and begged Lu Chuan for mercy. Lu Chuan was silent for a moment, and finally shook his head slightly. You deserve to die. After saying that, Lu Chuan swung out the soul-breaking sword and killed him. The caravan members standing aside were all trembling with fear. They dared not look directly at Lu Chuan and all lowered their heads. Lu Chuan stood up and waved his hand casually, and a horizontal sword energy shot out. Instantly, all the dozen members were cut in half by Lu Chuan and all died. Lu Chuan exhaled and turned to prepare for this messy room. He looked at the branches scattered on the ground and suddenly raised his foot to step on them. Crack. Lu Chuan grinded the branch hard and then walked out quickly. Lu Chuan was still in a bad mood after leaving the auction, and Dong Fangcheng walked over quickly. Did you get the stuff? He asked hurriedly. Don't ask. I was tricked by that bastard. Ah. That guy wasn't selling things? What did he do? He's not dead now, is he? Dong Fangcheng asked curiously. Lu Chuan sighed and said, the fact is, what he sold was not a branch of the sacred tree at all, but a high imitation. That high imitation caused some damage to me. It would have made me weak for a moment, giving them a chance to take advantage of the situation, but I used the Nine Heavens mysterious fire to dissolve it, and killed them all. All dead. Okay, why would they do this? Who ordered them to do it? With their strength, they don't have the ability to do it, right? Lu Chuan continued. It was a woman named Su Changyu. She may still be in Cheyenne City waiting for news from these people. The news must be blocked here, and the auction must proceed as usual. We must rush to Cheyenne City as soon as possible to see if we can find that guy named Su Changyu. Okay, I get it, but who is this Su Changyu? She is so brave that she dares to attack you. Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. I don't know who she is or where she comes from, but I know that her target is the branch on my body. No matter what, I will not let her succeed. Now, let's deal with things here as soon as possible and then kill them. In Cheyenne City, if I find that guy named Su Changyu, I will never let her go. Lu Chuan clenched his fists and said, no problem, I'll go clean up the auction house first and block the news. Dong Fangcheng turned around quickly and went back to the auction house. Lu Chuan went to the Lu mansion first. The Lu mansion moved to a more central area. After Lu Chuan returned to the mansion, he was immediately received by Lu Xianyu. At this moment, Lu Chuan could still feel a violent spiritual energy wandering in his body. Lu Chuan had to keep a close eye on it and suppress it at all times. Otherwise, he would be hurt again sooner or later. Mr. Lu is back. How is the situation today? I heard that you went to the auction. Did you get anything good? He asked curiously, then lowered his head and saw the arm guard on Lu Chuan's arm. This is Huanlin arm guard? This equipment is quite effective, but it is still a little inferior to the strength of the martial saint realm. Don't worry about the auction. I may leave for Cheyenne City tomorrow. Are you in such a hurry? I was thinking of stabilizing the situation in B City before leaving. Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. B City is now dominated by the Lu Mansion. It is basically our territory. Even if I'm not here, you can still develop steadily and dominate. It's just that, if I stay here, other family forces will be more cautious. I will leave tomorrow. During this time, you take good care of the Lu Mansion. If you receive any news from Lin Cheng, you must obey any order. Lu Xianyu immediately nodded and said respectfully, no problem, I will. Okay, I should go to rest. I will leave tomorrow. Lu Chuan's face was not very good, and he slowly walked towards his room. Lu Xianyu looked at Lu Chuan's back and couldn't help but sigh. Come here, prepare 2 good horses for the journey. Yes. sir. The next morning, there was no big news in B City. Dong Fangcheng successfully suppressed the news of the death of the Fan family caravan. No one in B City knew about Fan King's death. At the gate of Lu Mansion, Lu Chuan rode one of the fast horses, a pure white horse. Dong Fangcheng also rushed over early and rode another horse beside Lu Chuan. After the two got on the horses, they put on their bags and prepared to set off. This time they were in a hurry to set off, so they didn't prepare too many things, and they didn't use a carriage to travel. They set off directly to Cheyenne City. The two rode on horseback on the street, and the people here avoided them one after another, not daring to offend the two big men Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng. I heard that in Cheyenne City, there is neither the Dongfang family nor the Lu family. It is a situation where the local warlords dominate alone. Lu Chuan said. The specific situation will be more complicated. We will deal with it slowly after we get there. It is estimated that the remnants of the Nangang family will not be completely eradicated. B City is still okay, but Cheyenne City is the core territory of the Nangang family. They have been entrenched there for hundreds of years and will not be easily shaken. Lu Chuan smiled disdainfully. Then I will be the one who went to destroy them. No matter how difficult it is to shake, I will shake it. The Nangang family, the last Nangang Qianying, and the Suchangayu who plotted against me, I will never forgive them. Anyone who provokes me, Lu Chuan, will die. The two left B City and rushed all the way to Cheyenne City on the road. The two rode on fast horses and rode non-stop. One day was enough to reach Cheyenne City from morning to night. When Suchangayu received the news, it would be too late to escape. Of course, it would not be easy for Lu Chuan to find this woman, unless Cheyenne City was an inconspicuous small city, in which case he could find her in a short time. Otherwise, it would be completely wishful thinking. Lu Chuan and his companion were on the road, and the sun was shining brightly. They continued to travel tirelessly. It was not until noon that they came to an inn to rest for a while. Lu Chuan did not dare to rest for too long, otherwise he might not reach Cheyenne City before dark. The two of them rode their horses almost non-stop, just to reach Cheyenne City as quickly as possible. Chapter 892. Just entering the city. When it was almost evening, Lu Chuan looked out and saw Cheyenne City in the distance. Cheyenne City in his sight was about the size of his fingernail, standing on the horizon, surrounded by an endless vast plain. Continuing to move forward, Lu Chuan saw some tents and wooden walls in the distance. Lu Chuan rode his horse and was bound to pass these camps. Lu Chuan turned his head to look at Dong Fangcheng and asked, "These camps should be the army in the city, right?" Dong Fangcheng looked forward and shook his head helplessly. "I don't know. Let's go and take a look. This is my first time in Cheyenne City, and I don't know much about the situation here." Lu Chuan could only continue to move forward, walking along the road, and soon arrived at the entrance of the camp. The camp was built on both sides of the road, and there were checkpoints in the middle to conduct simple inspections on passers-by. Lu Chuan rode over, and was stopped by a soldier in silver armor. "What are you doing in the city?" He looked at Lu Chuan and asked. "To meet people. Only you two, right?" Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "Yes, just the two of us. Where are you from?" "B City." "Okay, go in." The checkpoint opened, and Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng rode in. Cheyenne City has a lot of traffic every day, so these people basically let them go after asking casually. After Lu Chuan passed through the camp, he continued to rush towards Cheyenne City. In the evening, Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng arrived at the city gate. After queuing at the city gate, the two slowly entered the city. After entering the city, Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng walked on the street with their horses. The scale of Cheyenne City is indeed larger than B City. It is said that there are more than 100,000 people in terms of population alone. Lu Chuan walked on the street and looked at the shops around. "Let's find a hotel to stay in first." Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng walked on the road and soon saw a well-decorated hotel. The hotel has a total of 3 floors, and there are many people coming in and out. There is no seductive woman soliciting customers at the door, and it looks more serious. Lu Chuan walked into the hotel and walked towards the counter. The proprietress at the counter greeted him with a smile when she saw Lu Chuan. "Does this guest want to stay or eat? Both together?" She looked at Lu Chuan with a smile. "Open to rooms. We will stay here for a while." "No problem." Here are your room cards. How many days do you want to stay? Lu Chuan thought for a moment and said casually, let's stay for half a month first. This money should be enough, right? Lu Chuan took out a small gold bar and put it on the counter. When the proprietress saw the gold bar, her eyes sparkled and she laughed excitedly. No problem. Of course it's enough. It's more than enough. Not only the room, but also the meals for the two of you. You can eat whatever you want. Lu Chuan smiled faintly, turned his head to look at Dong Fangcheng, and said, let's go upstairs. Many people in the lobby looked at Lu Chuan and the others. Their generosity impressed them. Dong Fangcheng did not follow them, but stood in front of the counter and looked at the proprietress. This is our first time in Cheyenne City. Can you tell us about the situation here? What do you want to know? I don't know where to start. The proprietress smiled helplessly. For example, about the Nangang family. Hearing this, the proprietress sighed. The Nangang family, they are considered the #1 family in our Cheyenne City. They are very powerful, and we are all afraid of them. But recently there have been some changes in their family. It seems that they have been hit hard, almost making them unable to breathe. I don't know what the situation of the Nangang family will be in the future. It's hard to say now. Are you going to look for the Nangang family? Many people in their family have died. Maybe your friends are among them. The proprietress realized that what she said was wrong and quickly changed her words. That's not what I meant. If you go to the Nangang family to look for someone, you will definitely find him. Dong Fangcheng shook his head. I'm not looking for someone. I'm just asking. By the way, do you know Nangang Qianying? The proprietress tilted her head, looked at the wall next to her, and thought for a while. Nangang Qianying, this name sounds familiar, but it has not appeared in the public eye for many years. That's an old man. I don't know if he is still alive now. Why are you asking this? Nangang Qianying is an old man who is about to be buried. What can you do if you find him? Dong Fangcheng shrugged disapprovingly. Nothing. I have another question. Do you know a girl named Su Changyu? I don't know. People come and go here every day. How can I remember so many people? Dong Fangcheng nodded helplessly. That's true. The last question. Who is the mayor of Cheyenne City? You don't even know this? The city lord is Yuan Cheng. He is extremely powerful. His city guards can suppress the Nangang family. You'd better behave yourself in Cheyenne City. If you are targeted by the city guards, you will not be able to leave this city. Dong Fangcheng nodded slightly. I know. This city lord named Yuan Cheng should be at the level of martial saint, right? Should be. I don't know about this. I'm not a martial artist. Dong Fangcheng turned and walked towards Lu Chuan. That's all I want to ask. Dong Fangcheng walked in front of Lu Chuan. Just as the two were about to go upstairs, someone suddenly came over and raised his hand on Dong Fangcheng's shoulder. Are you looking for Su Changyu? Dong Fangcheng paused and slowly turned his head to look over. The man behind him was wearing a black suit and a mask, and he looked very mysterious. Dong Fangcheng looked at him curiously and asked, who are you? I ask you, what do you want to do with her? He asked loudly. Dong Fangcheng smiled. Nothing. I just want to meet her. There are not many people in Cheyenne City who know her name. How did you know? Let me ask you. He asked loudly, with an arrogant attitude, as if he was ordering Dong Fangcheng. Lu Chuan walked up quickly, came to Dong Fangcheng, and stood in front of the man in black. If you have anything to say, tell me. What are you two doing looking for Su Changyu? Lu Chuan said lightly. Are you Su Changyu's friend? Or your subordinate? You seem to be afraid that she will be found. I'm afraid? What a joke. You probably don't know our strength. We are in Cheyenne City. There is no one afraid. Lu Chuan laughed. If you are not afraid, why don't you go to B City to find me in person? As soon as these words came out, the pupils of the man in front of him instantly dilated, and he looked at Lu Chuan in great surprise. What? What do you mean by this? Could it be that you are? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 893, torture. The man in black in front of him kept retreating, looking at Lu Chuan with horror. He raised his hand and pointed at Lu Chuan and asked nervously, you are. Before he finished speaking, Lu Chuan stepped forward and grabbed his neck. You are so brave that you dare to come here on your own initiative. Now come with me. Lu Chuan grabbed his neck and was about to take him upstairs. Seeing this, the proprietress immediately panicked and asked hurriedly, dear guest, what's the situation? Do you have a grudge between you? Don't let anyone get killed here. She looked at Lu Chuan in panic. Don't worry, no, I just want to ask him some questions. Don't worry, I won't kill anyone here. Lu Chuan grabbed the man in black's neck and slowly took him upstairs. The man in black kept struggling, but he couldn't break free from Lu Chuan's restraints no matter what. Soon, Lu Chuan took him to the room and threw him casually, making him smash against the wall. Plop. He fell down immediately, and blood oozed from the corner of his mouth. He stood up, leaned against the wall, and stared at Lu Chuan with vigilant eyes. Are you Lu Chuan? How did you appear here? Aren't you in B City? He asked in great surprise. You stopped a group of wandering merchants and asked them to plot against me in order to get the thing from me. Unfortunately, you miscalculated. Now, I want to ask you where Su Chang'ai is, otherwise, I will let you know what pain is. The man in black gritted his teeth and said, those bastards still betrayed us. What a bunch of rubbish, they can't even do this. He cursed secretly. Lu Chuan walked up, patted his face, and pulled off the mask on his face. Tell me, where is Su Chang'ai? If you don't tell me, I will let you fall into pain. I will never tell you. Su Chang'ai is my beloved woman, I can't betray her. He gritted his teeth and said, looking like he would rather die than surrender. Seeing this, Lu Chuan couldn't help but laugh. It seems that you like this girl named Su Chang'ai very much. It seems that it is useless to just tell you with your mouth. Lu Chuan took out a dagger from Dan Fangcheng's body and walked towards the man in black. You have 10 fingers on your body. I will cut off 1 finger every hour until you say it. How about that? The man in black had cold sweat on his forehead and said angrily, come on, let's see if I'm afraid of you. Swish. Lu Chuan suddenly swung the dagger and accurately cut through the thumb of the man in black's left hand. Snap. The finger fell to the ground, and blood kept coming out of the broken finger. Ah! The man in black screamed. Go downstairs and get some salt. Apply some to him every once in a while. Dan Fangcheng nodded repeatedly. No problem. He turned and went downstairs. 10 fingers can only last for 10 hours, but it doesn't matter. There are other things on your body that can be cut. Let's take our time. There is no rush. Lu Chuan said calmly. The man in black stared at Lu Chuan. The intense pain made him sweat profusely and tremble all over. He trembled and said, if you dare to do this to me, Su Chang'ai will not forgive you. Maybe she doesn't care about you at all. Bullshit. I have been pursuing her for 5 years. She can't give up on me so easily. If she knew that I was caught by you, she would definitely give up everything to save me. He shouted loudly. Lu Chuan smiled calmly. Really? You've been chasing her for 5 years. Did you get any results? You don't need to know this. It has nothing to do with you. Lu Chuan laughed. She didn't accept your pursuit at all, but still let you follow her. I think she is just using you. Using your infatuation with her, she made you willing to become a thug. The man in black shouted again. Shut up. You know shit. I don't need to understand. Anyway, you will be in trouble later. Just endure the torture slowly. I guess if that Su Chang'ai knew I was here, her first thought would definitely be to run away first. Haha, if she knew you were here, don't worry, she would definitely try her best to kill you, and then I would be rescued. Lu Chuan shook his head and sighed. You guy, you really don't give up. At this time, Dan Fangcheng walked up quickly and put a can of salt on the table. Apply it to his wound and keep touching it until he is willing to talk. No problem. Dan Fangcheng picked up the salt jar and walked towards the man in black. Just tell the truth. Silence is useless. Even if you keep it to yourself, it won't affect us finding Su Chang'ai. It will just delay us a little bit, and you will continue to endure this pain. We don't want to see this kind of thing, and you don't want to endure it, right? What's the point of being so tight-lipped? Who is Su Chang'ai to you? Are you her relative or partner? If you are not even an intimate relationship, just give up. There is no need to persist like this. Dan Fangcheng applied salt while verbally attacking. The man in black gritted his teeth and twitched in pain. He looked at Lu Chuan with a squint and sighed helplessly. Lu Chuan, you are a capable person. It is really difficult for us to deal with you. I thought about what you just said again, and it seems to be true. I was deceived. He lowered his head helplessly. Dan Fangcheng looked back at Lu Chuan. Do you want to continue? He seems to be about to speak. Go on. I don't think he is going to tell the truth. Take all 10 fingers off first. The man in black suddenly raised his head and shouted, I'm not. What I said is true. I compromised. I awakened. And I know what you said is right. I'm not trying to fool you. He shouted hurriedly, looking at Dan Fangcheng with panic eyes. Do you want to continue? Dan Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan. Let's pause and listen to what he has to say first. If you can tell me truthfully about Su Changgai's current situation, I can consider sparing your life. The man in black let out a long breath, and his whole body became weak. I say, listen slowly. Su Changgaiu, she is the daughter of the Su family. My name is Zhu Meng, and I'm the long-term worker of the Su family. Later, they saw that I had good talent, so they asked me to practice martial arts together. It happened that during that time, Su Changgaiu also reached the age to start practicing martial arts, and that's how I met her. She thought I could fight, so she asked me to be one of her thugs. It was during that time that I fell in love with her. Lu Chuan said impatiently, let's get to the point. I'm not here to listen to your nonsense. Chapter 894 Investigation. Zhu Meng sat down against the wall, sweating all over, and the broken finger gradually scabbed over and stopped bleeding. If I tell you, will you forgive me? He asked. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Hurry up and say it. Su Changgaiu, she is now with the city lord Yuan Xiancheng. What is she doing there? Lu Chuan asked. She needs a hiding place, and the city lord's mansion is the best hiding place. I brought a lot of good things with me this time. In exchange for some things, the city lord is happy to let us live in. Besides, our Su family has a good reputation in Kunlun domain, so Yuan Xiancheng will naturally give us some face. Lu Chuan sat on the edge of the bed, looked at him and asked, go on, who asked you to attack me? I don't know. It is said that it is a mysterious force from Penglai Fairyland. We are not qualified to know too much. I only know that one of them is called Wan Qinggaiu, and I don't know the rest. Lu Chuan stepped forward and grabbed his neck, asking again, are you sure that bastard is called Wan Qinggaiu, right? I'm sure. It's absolutely true. It's Wan Qinggaiu. She came from Penglai Fairyland and entrusted us to do this. Lu Chuan let go of his neck and let him sit on the ground again. Dan Fangcheng came over and asked, is there anything wrong? This name, if I didn't have a good memory, I would have forgotten it. I once interrogated an old man and learned about Wan Qinggaiu from him. The old man's name is Gulai, right? In short, this Wan Qinggaiu is the agent of Penglai Fairyland in Kunlun domain, and she came here specifically to retrieve this branch. This guy is the root. If I don't kill her, these people will just keep coming. Lu Chuan clenched his fists. Now we only know that Wan Qinggaiu has appeared in the Su family. It's not easy to find her if we want to. Lu Chuan said disapprovingly, take your time to look for her. What can she do to me? If she had the strength, she would have attacked me head on long ago. But she doesn't have the strength, right? Let's solve the current target first. First, the Nangan family, then Su Changgaiu. After cleaning up, we will move on. The final target is the Lu family. As for the Nangan family, it won't be complicated. We can just fight them directly. But the key is Su Changgaiu. She is under the protection of the city lord. Dan Fangcheng frowned and looked at Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan took a deep breath. You are right. Su Changgaiu is under the protection of the city lord now. It is not easy for us to take action. We can only look for an opportunity. What about this person? How to deal with him? It's not realistic to let him go, right? Dan Fangcheng pointed at Jumang on the ground and asked, go buy a large dose of knockout drug and let him sleep for a few days. It seems that this is the only way. Zhu Meng, who was lying on the ground, panicked immediately and shouted loudly, "Two heroes, please forgive me, I will never tell the news, I must be honest, don't use knockout drugs on me, okay? What if I can't bear the dose and die?" Lu Chuan squatted beside him and asked, "I will give you two choices. One is to sleep for a few days and then leave here. The other is to sleep for a lifetime. You choose one, long or short?" Zhu Meng swallowed his saliva and nodded helplessly. "Okay, I will listen to you. Leave this matter to me. You go to bed first, get a good rest, and we will go to find the people of the Nangang family tomorrow. Okay, be careful when you go out." Dan Fangcheng smiled. "Don't worry, I will pay attention." The next morning, Lu Chuan got up early and came to the lobby downstairs. He and Dan Fangcheng sat in the corner to eat breakfast. "What are your plans for today? Are you going directly to the Nangang family?" Dan Fangcheng asked. "If we go directly to the door, it will cause too much noise. Let's take it slow. What are your plans?" Lu Chuan continued. "First, go and ask the families that are friendly with the Nangang family for information, to see if the old man has come out and understand the situation. First find out the details of the old man, and then prepare to take action." Dan Fangcheng nodded slightly. "No problem." At this time, the boss lady came over. "Nothing happened last night, right?" she asked cautiously. "Nothing. Everyone is fine, sleeping." The boss lady smiled awkwardly. "When you say sleeping, do you mean the kind that never wakes up?" "Of course not. Don't worry, no one died last night." "Okay, I believe you." The boss lady nodded helplessly. When she turned to leave, Lu Chuan stopped her. "Boss lady, I want to ask you a question." "Still have questions? This is really your first time here." She turned and walked back. "Ask." In Cheyenne City, besides the Nangang family, who is the second most powerful family? Of course it's the Zhu family. Zhu Jingchang, the head of the Zhu family, is also a well-known figure in Cheyenne City. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "Zhu Jingchang. I remember it. Are you looking for him?" "Yes, I want to visit him." "Okay, I have a map of Cheyenne City here. Do you want to buy one?" the proprietress asked with a smile. "Come on." Lu Chuan put a gold grain on the table. After the proprietress took it away, she was immediately excited. She turned around quickly and took the map in a hurry. Lu Chuan took the map, drank the soy milk in the bowl, and stood up to leave. "Let's go and visit this Zhu family." Lu Chuan and Dan Fangcheng started to leave. After riding their horses at the door, they followed the map and walked towards the Zhu family mansion. Because they were outsiders, the two walked very slowly, comparing the map while walking. At noon, they arrived at the door of the Zhu family mansion. "Who are you? Who are you looking for?" the guard at the door asked. "My name is Dan Fangcheng, the young master of the Dan Fang family. I'm here to visit you and discuss something." Dan Fangcheng stepped forward and took out his token. Lu Chuan just stood behind him and waited for a while. "Okay, please come in. Since it's the young master of the Dan Fang family who's visiting, we naturally have no room to refuse." The door opened, and Lu Chuan and Dan Fangcheng walked into the courtyard. The Zhu family mansion covers a vast area. The garden just entering the courtyard is almost as big as a lake. Passing through the flower forest, Lu Chuan came to the front of the house. The housekeeper at the door came over and bent down and asked, "Who are you two looking for?" "Looking for your master, Zhu Jingchang. Our master is in the study to handle household affairs. Please follow me." The housekeeper led the two through the corridor and came to the door of the study. He knocked on the door gently and asked, "Master, there is an outsider visiting. Is it from the Nangang family?" A voice came from the study. "No. Then I won't see you." Dan Fangcheng shouted hurriedly, "I'm the young master of the Dan Fang family. I came here specially to visit you. You'd better open the door. What we want to discuss is very important. It concerns the future development of your Zhu family." Chapter 895, Situation in the City. Upon learning that it was the young master of the Dan Fang family who came to visit, Zhu Jingchang in the study room quickly stood up, walked quickly to the door, and opened the door. He stuck his head out and looked at Dan Fangcheng curiously. Zhu Jingchang in front of him was very old and looked like he was almost 60 years old. His hair was grey, his wrinkles were dense, and there were even age spots on his forehead. He looked at Dong Fangcheng and asked, "You are from the Dongfang family, but my Zhu family has nothing in common with your Dongfang family. Why did you come to see me?" He stood at the door, not intending to let Dong Fangcheng in. "Let's go in and talk. This matter is very important. It is a major event related to the fate of your family." "Really?" If someone else said this, I would think he was fooling me, but since you are from the Dongfang family, I will believe you for once. He opened the door completely and said, "Come in. You'd better explain the situation to me clearly. Don't fool me." Dong Fangcheng walked in quickly, and Lu Chuan followed closely behind him. "Wait, if you are not from the Dongfang family, just stay here and wait." Lu Chuan stared at Zhu Jingchang and asked with a smile, "Are you sure you want me to wait at the door?" "What? Is there a problem?" Dong Fangcheng quickly grabbed Zhu Jingchang's arm and pulled him into the study. Then, he waved to Lu Chuan and said, "Come in first and close the door." Lu Chuan walked in and closed the door tightly, and then the two stood facing Zhu Jingchang. "Who are you two? What do you want from me? Don't bother me for no reason. I don't have time to mess with you." Lu Chuan stepped forward and asked, "I'll just ask you a few questions. Very simple. First of all, is Nangang Qianying in Xianan City? Why are you asking this? Do you know Nangang Qianying? You'd better not ask around about this kind of thing. It's not good for you. What do you want to do with him? Tell me directly. I'll think about it. Maybe I can help you convey it." Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. "I don't need you to convey it. I'm just asking you a question. If you don't answer, you'll be in trouble." "Unlucky? What do you mean? Threaten me? Who are you? How dare you threaten me? Don't you know who I am? If you have any understanding of my status in Xianan City, you wouldn't dare to talk to me like this." He looked at Lu Chuan with an extremely arrogant aura. Lu Chuan smiled faintly and ignored his threat. "I don't care what kind of power you are, no matter how big it is, it's not bigger than the Nangang family. I can kill Nangang Shan, so killing you won't be easy." Hearing this, Zhu Jingchang froze in his place and took 2 steps back. "What did you just say? Who did you kill? Nangang Shan? Don't talk nonsense." Lu Chuan smiled and took 2 steps forward and continued, "The news of Nangang Shan's death should have spread here. You should know that it was a man named Lu Chuan who killed Nangang Shan." "Impossible. Could it be that you are Lu Chuan? How long has it been since you came to Xianan City?" Zhu Jingchang looked at Lu Chuan in disbelief, still unable to believe it. Lu Chuan shrugged helplessly. "I'm too lazy to talk too much nonsense with you. I'm Lu Chuan. If you don't believe me, we can have a debate to see if it's true or not. You'd better cooperate now, otherwise, your fate will be the same as Nangang Shan. You are not much special than Nangang Shan. It can even be said that you are not as good as Nangang Shan in all aspects. If I can kill Nangang Shan, I naturally have the strength to kill you." Lu Chuan's words made Zhu Jingchang nervous. He gradually began to believe that the man in front of him was Lu Chuan. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Looking at Lu Chuan, he swallowed nervously. "What do you want to see me for? My Zhu family has never provoked you. You'd better calm down." Lu Chuan said disapprovingly, "Your Zhu family has never provoked me, but if you don't cooperate well, then you have provoked me. Now tell me, where is Nangang Qianying now? Is he in Xianan City? If not, where should he be?" Zhu Jingchang immediately panicked and shouted, "Lu Chuan, I don't know where he is, and I know nothing about him." He shouted loudly, seeming very excited. "You don't know, or you don't dare to say it? I see you are so scared. It seems that you are not afraid of me, right? You are afraid of Nangang Qianying, afraid that he will retaliate against you after you tell him, right? Lu Chuan, don't think about it. If Nangang Qianying comes out, you are definitely not his opponent. You should give up as soon as possible and run away now, otherwise, you are looking for death. You killed Nangang Shan and Nangang Qianying's 2 grandchildren. Nangang Qianying will not let you go no matter what. You stay here and wait for death." Zhu Jingchang threatened. Lu Chuan still looked very indifferent and said disapprovingly, "I'm here to take his life. You actually advised me to avoid him, so I came here in vain." Lu Chuan stepped forward quickly. Although Zhu Jingchang wanted to retreat, his speed was far less than Lu Chuan, so Lu Chuan rushed forward and grabbed his neck. After being grabbed by the neck, Zhu Jingchang immediately coughed twice, and the feeling of suffocation made his cheeks red. Speak or not? You just said that Nangang Qianying would kill me if he came out, which means that he hasn't come out yet. In that case, he is not in Cheyenne City yet. Tell me, where is he? If you can't give a reason, I will kill you and then destroy your Zhu family. Don't think I can't do it. I can destroy the Nangang family, so it will be easy to deal with your Zhu family. Lu Chuan continued, if I don't kill a lot of people, no one will take me seriously. In that case, if I destroy your Zhu family, it can also be a warning to others. I guess no one in Cheyenne City will dare to confront me anymore. Zhu Jingchang immediately panicked and gritted his teeth and said, Lu Chuan, please spare me. I really don't want to die. My Zhu family has worked hard to develop the family business to this point. I don't want to see the Zhu family die like this. Give us a way to live. I believe you have the ability. Otherwise, you wouldn't have forced the Nangang family to this point. And our Zhu family is just following the Nangang family to make a living. If you attack us, we will never be able to resist, he said helplessly. Lu Chuan loosened his right hand, and Zhu Jingchang fell down and sat on the ground, breathing heavily, and his face gradually became normal. Lu Chuan came to him and asked, now, can you cooperate with me? No problem. I'll say it, but if you can't kill Nangang Qianying, I'll be the one to die. Chapter 896 Entering the City Lord's Mansion. Zhu Jingchang immediately admitted his mistake, stood up, dusted himself off, looked at Lu Chuan, and smiled awkwardly. What can we talk about? Our Zhu family has no grudges against you. If we become enemies, because of a small misunderstanding, it would be too worthless. He smiled and brought a chair to Lu Chuan, and put it in front of him. After Lu Chuan sat down, Zhu Jingchang stood beside Lu Chuan with a half-bent waist. Tell me, where is Nangang Qianying? He is on the White Crane Mountain outside the city. It is a holy place for cultivation. Many cultivators will go there to find a blessed place and then begin a long period of seclusion for cultivation. Nangang Qianying is no exception. He is between those mountains. As for where exactly he is, I don't know for the time being. He is expected to come back from the mountain in the next 2 days. There is such a huge change in the Nangang family. He definitely cannot be unaware of it. I estimate that he will go down the mountain in less than 2 days. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Then where is the White Crane Mountain in Cheyenne City? Northwest direction. If he wants to rely on a mount to enter the city, there is only one way to go. You can set up an ambush on the way and find a way to sneak attack him first. Otherwise, a head-on confrontation will not do you much good. The old man's strength is really extraordinary. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. I see. By the way, do you know a lot about Yuanshan City? Are you talking about the city lord? I'm doing business here. How could I not know the city lord? Lu Chuan continued to ask. I want to find someone from him. That person is now living in his house. This person is not too important to him. I want him to hand the person over. What do you think I should do? Upon hearing this, Zhu Jingchang immediately fell into deep thought. Let me think about it. I know the city lord Yuan Cheng very well. I know what he likes. You are in Cheyenne City now. The most powerful force here is the city guards. You definitely can't defend them. Otherwise, you won't have the chance to kill Nangang Qianying. How about this? City Lord Yuan has a little son who is cynical, but unfortunately, when he was playing in Chunlao a few days ago, he offended a group of bandits. The bandits took Yuan Cheng's little son out of the city. Now his life or death is unknown, and his whereabouts are unknown. City Lord Yuan has now offered a reward to the whole city. Whoever can bring his son back will be rewarded heavily. Lu Chuan frowned slightly. I don't want to get involved in this kind of mess. Is there anything else? Anything else? This really makes it difficult for me. You know, Yuan Cheng is almost all powerful in Cheyenne City. Although the Nangang family has half of the city, his status is definitely not to be underestimated. He really doesn't need favors from others in this city. He can handle everything by himself. However, if you want to enter the city lord's mansion, it's simple. You just need to participate in the martial arts competition held by the city lord. Lu Chuan asked curiously, martial arts competition? Is it just a martial arts competition? Of course not. It selects outstanding warriors to serve as soldiers. If they perform well, they can skip the recruit stage directly. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. This is a good idea. I don't want to care about his family affairs. I will just go to this martial arts competition. After the competition, will I be qualified to enter the city lord's mansion? It's not that I'm qualified, but the martial arts competition is held in the city lord's mansion. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. I see. In this case, then I will go and sign up to participate. By the way, who are you looking for? To be able to hide in the city lord's mansion, this person's status and strength should be extraordinary. Zhu Jingchan looked at Lu Chuan curiously. Lu Chuan stood up and prepared to leave. That person is indeed unusual, but he has little to do with you, so you don't need to worry about him. I'm leaving first. You'd better keep my presence a secret. If everyone in the city knows that I, Lu Chuan, am here today, I will come to trouble you. Zhu Jingchan immediately became timid and said with a smile, absolutely not, just rest assured. Lu Chuan turned and left, followed by Dong Fangcheng. Seeing that both of them had walked out of the study, Zhu Jingchan wiped the sweat from his forehead. He breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, I sent these two gentlemen away. It's not easy. Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng walked out of the Zhu family mansion and came to the street. What do you say? Go find that Su Chang'ai first, or start preparing to deal with Nangan Qianing. Lu Chuan pondered for a moment. Both of these things have to be done. Now, let's go find Su Chang'ai first, lest this guy chooses to escape after knowing that I'm here. No problem. Then let's go to the city lord's mansion first. The two returned to the street, rode on their horses, and continued to move forward, heading towards the city lord's mansion. In the afternoon, the streets became a little hotter, and the number of pedestrians gradually decreased. The scorching sun made beads of sweat appear on Lu Chuan's forehead. Following the street, Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng came to the gate of the city lord's mansion. The city lord's mansion of Xianan City is as grand as a palace. The gardens and grasslands inside are almost as big as a medium-sized lake. Lu Chuan came to the gate. In front of the gate stood two huge jade lions with majestic shapes and exquisite carvings. In front of the gate stood two rows of guards, all holding spears and wearing silver armor, looking completely different from the guards in front of the family forces. Lu Chuan walked towards the notice board next to the gate and saw that he could take down the notice here to sign up. Lu Chuan took down a notice posted on the notice board. After holding it in his hand, he walked towards the gate. The guard stopped in front of the door and blocked Lu Chuan's way. What are you doing here? Lu Chuan picked up the notice in his hand and said, I'm here to sign up for the martial arts conference. Martial arts conference? You're signing up too late. Lu Chuan asked hurriedly, am I late? Not too late, but everyone who should sign up has signed up, so it seems deserted. Go in and turn left. There is a city lord's training ground. The martial arts conference will start there. Walk into the mansion, enter the door, and walk to the left. Pass through a wall, and follow the stone path to see where the crowd is gathered. In front of you is a training ground in the city lord's mansion. There is a competition platform set up here, and there is a long line next to it. They are all people who are signing up for the martial arts conference. Lu Chuan walked towards them quickly. Following the line, Lu Chuan began to queue up. After waiting in line for almost half an hour, it was Lu Chuan's turn. Dong Fangcheng stood behind Lu Chuan and also planned to sign up and give it a try. Name. The person sitting behind the desk looked at Lu Chuan. My name is Lu Xiaochuan. Chapter 897 Encountering the Target. The person behind the desk looked up at Lu Chuan and asked curiously, Lu Xiaochuan? Is that your name? Yes. Is there a problem? No, it just sounds familiar. There is a person who has become famous recently, and his name is only one letter different from yours. Lu Chuan quickly smiled. Is his name Lu Xiao? No, his name is Lu Chuan. Forget it. Seeing that you don't know anything, it's useless to tell you. I've registered for you. Wait over there, and get ready to go on stage. Okay, I got it. Lu Chuan walked towards the crowd. It was Dong Fangcheng's turn. He walked over with a smile. My name is Dong Fangcheng. Dong Fangcheng. Which city? The city of the city. Okay, tell me all the other information. Then, Dan Fangcheng told all his age and realm. After completing the registration, Dan Fangcheng also came to the crowd and began to wait. No one knows when this martial arts tournament will start. I heard it will start at the hour of zoo, but I don't know if it's true or not. All the people who have registered are here, so it's time to start. It's a waste of time to keep waiting. No one knows who will be the first place in this martial arts tournament. Who else could it be? It must be the young master of the Zhu family, Zhu language. That's true. He has the strength of an early martial emperor and is still young. He can definitely get a good military position. There was constant discussion in the crowd, and soon Lu Chuan heard discussions about the Nangang family. Did the Nangang family not come to participate this time? It seems that no one came. The Nangang family has been in a bit of a pity recently. A large number of people were dispatched before, including the head of the family, but they all died. Don't talk nonsense. When did they all die? The head of the family died, and the rest of the people dispersed. Not many people came back, but they didn't all die. Oh, the head of the family is dead, and this family is no different from being in name only. Oh, this Nangang family will end up like this one day. I don't know what kind of person he has offended. No matter who it is, the death of the Nangang family is a good thing for all of us. The tree is big and the light is blocked. They have monopolized most of the resources. Now that the Nangang family is dead, I'm afraid that a large number of small families will rise from the ground. Lu Chuan waited quietly in the crowd. These people seem to be very concerned about the affairs of the Nangang family. Dan Fangcheng said with a smile. They are all just chatting. It has nothing to do with me. Lu Chuan looked at one side of the arena and moved a table and then moved 6 chairs. Then, 6 people came over, took their seats one by one, and began to prepare. It was obvious that these people were the judges of this martial arts competition. The crowd was discussing again. The judges are on stage, so is the competition about to start? It should start. I'm almost bored waiting. Wait, why is there one more person? Weren't there 5 people in the past? Why are there 6 people today? What's the situation with this extra person? I don't know. Who knows her? She seems to be a young girl. She came in through the back door. So young. Is it appropriate for her to judge our competition? The constant discussion in the crowd also aroused Lu Chuan's curiosity. From the discussion, Lu Chuan could judge that one of the 6 judges was new, the youngest girl. At this time, a voice next to him caught Lu Chuan's attention. I have an old friend who works as a servant in the city lord's mansion. He told me that this woman's name is Su Changyu. She is incredibly strong and has a terrifying talent. She is now a distinguished guest in the city lord's mansion. To be invited to attend as a judge, her strength must be extraordinary. The crowd suddenly realized. Su Changyu, a name I've never heard of. She must be from the outer city. Is she an old acquaintance of the city lord? She looks so young. And she's so beautiful. If I could marry such a beautiful and talented woman, my life would be worth it. You are dreaming. Can anyone who can be a distinguished guest of the city lord be an ordinary person? How could he look down on us? After hearing this, Lu Chuan looked at the judge's seat and saw the figure of the girl named Su Changyu. She was wearing a white long dress, revealing her snow white long neck, and her skin was like bright jade in the sun. She looked even more attractive, with a standard oval face and a pair of standard peach blossom eyes. There was a chill in her eyes, and she had a cold temperament that made people afraid to approach her. No wonder she could fascinate that guy so much. She is really pretty. Dan Fangcheng also saw her and commented. Lu Chuan shrugged disapprovingly. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that she wants to take something from me. This alone is enough for me to kill her. If she is killed, it would be a waste of talent. Let's find a chance to talk to her. Lu Chuan just nodded slightly and did not express his opinion too much. Then, one person walked to the arena and took out a large copper trumpet to everyone. Dear friends, welcome. The martial arts competition held by our city lord's mansion is about to begin. Please get ready and go on stage one by one to start a one-on-one duel. The winner will advance to the next round. Now, let me announce the candidates for the first group of the first round. Wan Cheng and Li Tao, please come on stage. Then, 2 people walked out of the crowd and went to the stage. After preparing for the battle, they started fighting at the referee's command. There are no restrictions on the battles in the martial arts competition. You can use your own weapons and equipment, including some special props. What matters here is the comprehensive strength of the individual. The two people who came on stage were only at the martial arts king level. Although they were ordinary among this group of people, they were also elite strongmen outside. Lu Chuan watched the two fight from the audience. Although the battle was rough and clumsy, it was still very passionate. People around were shouting and cheering for the people on the stage. Soon, the first round of battle ended, and the second group began to fight on the stage. In this way, one group after another continued until Lu Chuan's name appeared. The next group is Lu Xiaochuan and Xian Ke. Su Chang'ai shuddered in the judge's booth and suddenly looked up at the crowd. Then, Lu Chuan came out. Su Chang'ai's cold eyes immediately began to move and turned into a look of fear. She looked at Lu Chuan and began to hold her breath nervously. At the same time, her eyebrows were furrowed, and it was obvious that Lu Chuan brought her great pressure. Lu Xiaochuan, what a good name, Su Chang'ai said. Everyone fell silent and looked over here. Chapter 898 Meeting Su Jianyu. Under the gaze of the crowd, Lu Chuan walked onto the arena. Lu Chuan's opponent, Xian Ke, also walked out from the crowd. On the judge's seat, Su Chang'ai stared at Lu Chuan with her beautiful eyes and sneered. Lu Chuan walked onto the stage, and the host stood between the two of them, shouting, "Are you all ready?" Lu Chuan and Xian Ke fought against each other and nodded. Then, the host shouted, "Now, start." Then, the host stepped down from the arena and began to watch the two fight. Xian Ke looked at Lu Chuan and smiled excitedly. "Come on, I won't show mercy. Get ready for my fierce attack." He rushed towards Lu Chuan with brass knuckles in both fists. Obviously, this guy was a fist player, and Lu Chuan took 2 steps back and dodged the 2 punches he threw. The 2 punches missed, which made Xian Ke stunned for a moment. He gritted his teeth and looked at Lu Chuan. "You are quite fast, but I don't think you dare to fight me head on." He rushed up again and punched Lu Chuan. While he was punching, Lu Chuan suddenly raised his leg and kicked him in the chest. Swish. The next moment, Xian Ke flew backwards and rolled several times before stopping. When he landed on the ground, he coughed violently several times and almost coughed up blood. He looked up and looked at Lu Chuan. When he saw Lu Chuan standing there leisurely, he panicked. After just a few rounds, the advantages and disadvantages of both sides were clear at a glance. The gap in strength between the two was so big that anyone could see it. Everyone off the court basically knew that Lu Chuan won this game, and won very thoroughly. He defeated his opponent casually without any pressure. Xian Ke, who was lying on the ground, was desperate at the moment. He did not intend to struggle to get up and continue fighting. This kick made his blood and ki chaotic and his muscles cramped. It was even difficult for him to stand up. The force of this random kick almost crippled him. He had no hope of defeating his opponent. Even if he did not know him, he would still be beaten. I admit defeat. The gap between our strength is too big. Let's end it here. Xian Ke stood up and said unwillingly. At the beginning, he was still full of confidence. He had prepared for this martial arts competition for a long time. Unfortunately, he was beaten so badly in the first round. He looked at Lu Chuan and sighed helplessly. "I want to ask you, what is your strength? Why did you defeat me with just one move?" Lu Chuan said calmly, "You don't need to know. It will not do you any good to know." Xian Ke shook his head awkwardly, knowing that he was asking for trouble, so he stopped asking. He turned and walked down the arena. "The winner of this round is Lu Xiaochuan." The host shouted loudly. His voice was extremely passionate. Among the several duels on stage, only Lu Chuan's group showed a huge gap in strength. This kind of crushing battle was extremely refreshing to watch. On the judge's seat, Su Chang'ai gritted his teeth and stared at Lu Chuan. "Lu Xiaochuan. This name is really good." Su Chang'ai stood up and instantly attracted everyone's attention. "You are so brave that you dare to come here to find me." Lu Chuan shrugged and said disapprovingly, "Why do you say that I came to find you? Lu Chuan, what can you pretend? Don't think I don't know what you are thinking." Lu Chuan put his hands on his hips, looked at Su Chang'ai, and asked, "Then tell me, what am I thinking?" Everyone off the stage was dumbfounded now, and they were at a loss. They looked at Lu Chuan curiously. They didn't expect that the person standing on the stage was actually Lu Chuan himself. They didn't say that the name Lu Chuan was well known, but they had heard of it a long time ago. After all, a young man who can challenge the Nangang family is extremely rare and impressive. Is this Lu Chuan? How come he is here? I just heard this morning that this guy killed Nangang Shan. What kind of person is Nangang Shan? He actually died in his hands. It's terrible. Is this really Lu Chuan? He looks too young, right? It's really rare that he can kill Nangang Shan at such a young age. This guy's talent is probably beyond our imagination. Everyone off the court was talking about it. Xian Ke, who was defeated by Lu Chuan just now, felt relieved when he heard Su Chang'ai call out Lu Chuan's name. It was not too embarrassing for him to lose to such a demon-like young genius. Lu Chuan walked towards Su Chang'ai. Haven't you been looking for me? I'm standing in front of you now. What do you want to do? Just come. Lu Chuan opened his arms and looked at her, looking completely fearless. Su Chang'ai gritted her teeth, clenched her fists, and her eyes were full of hatred. Although she wanted to attack Lu Chuan immediately, her reason told her that if she did it now, she would be courting death. This is the City Lord's residence, and I'm the City Lord's VIP. If you dare to attack me in a place like this, you will die. Lu Chuan shrugged innocently. I didn't say I would attack you. The other judges sitting next to Su Chang'ai looked over curiously. Su Chang'ai, what's going on? He's here to see you? Why did he come to see you? Is there any conflict between you two? I think he seems to have bad intentions. Have you offended him? This is the young man who killed Nangang Shan. You can tell from his appearance that he is indeed extraordinary. Su Chang'ai turned his head to look at the 5 people and said helplessly, he and I don't have a close relationship. He came to me to cause trouble for me. This man has bad intentions. He is violent by nature and loves to kill. Our City Lord's mansion should expel this man. What? Is this true or false? Can it be false? This guy is a ruthless man who wiped out the Nangang family. You say he is an ordinary person with a gentle temperament? No one will believe it, no matter how you tell him, right? Oh my god, this guy is a dangerous person. We can't let him stay in the City Lord's mansion. He may pose a threat to the City Lord. Yes, you're right. Then, all 5 judges stood up, and when they looked at Lu Chuan, their expressions became unfriendly. Lu Chuan looked at them, spread his hands, and said helplessly, do you believe everything she said? I came to find her. It has nothing to do with you. I have no grudge against you. Why should I cause trouble for you? Who knows, you have the courage to attack the Nangang family, let alone our City Lord. We must be on guard against you. That's right, you'd better be sensible and leave the City Lord's mansion by yourself. Don't wait until we take action. It will be too late. Chapter 899 Warning. The martial arts conference was completely transformed under the leadership of Su Chang'ai. The duel was paused, and several judges stood up, all staring at Lu Chuan, alert to his every move. Lu Chuan shook his head helplessly. Su Chang'ai, how about we solve the problem between the two of us separately? How about we go outside the City Lord's mansion to solve it? Su Chang'ai sneered. Why should I go outside the City Lord's mansion with you? I just like to stay here, right? You really don't have the courage. Lu Chuan was not surprised, and said naturally. At this time, the 5 judges all walked towards Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan, don't think that you can deal with the Nangang family, you can deal with our City Lord. You'd better be sensible now. If you leave honestly, then we will pretend that nothing happened. Lu Chuan sighed helplessly. It seems that I can't settle the grudge with you today. Well, we'll meet again, if we are destined to. When Lu Chuan was about to turn around and leave, Su Chang'ai breathed a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. But, do you know why I came here to participate in the martial arts conference? Do you know why I know your location? Lu Chuan looked at Su Chang'ai and asked again. Su Chang'ai frowned, and her face became serious. She pursed her red lips, hesitated for a moment, and asked, you didn't catch someone? Lu Chuan laughed. That's right. There is a man called Jumong. He is with me now. Su Chang'ai clenched her fists and slapped the armrest of the chair hard. This coward. I knew it was this guy. Go back and kill him quickly. He is useless, and he will only get in the way if he stays with me. Originally, I let him stay by my side because of his loyalty, but I didn't expect that he couldn't even keep this one advantage. What a waste. Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. I think you are wrong. It's not that he didn't keep this one advantage, but that he saw you clearly and chose to give up. For you, he broke a finger and endured the severe pain. Su Chang'ai sneered. Really? Then should I praise him a little? A waste is a waste, and breaking a few fingers is useless. Why don't you cut off all his fingers? Lu Chuan sighed helplessly. That's it. Su Chang'ai, you'd better stay here. If you dare to make a move on me again, I will kill you at all costs. Remember, you are not qualified to think about my things. Lu Chuan turned and walked down the arena, returning to Dan Fangcheng's side. Are we leaving now? Dan Fangcheng asked. Let's go. Do you want to stay here and continue the competition? What about Su Chang'ai? Are you just going to warn her? Lu Chuan glanced around and said helplessly, are we going to fight here directly? Forget it. Why bother yourself with trouble? If she doesn't know what's best for her, I will teach her a lesson again. Okay, then let's go back first. The two turned around, walked out of the crowd, and prepared to leave here. Miss Su, are we just going to let them go like this? Isn't this a bit bad? A judge came up to Su Chang'ai and asked. Miss Su, that guy doesn't respect you very much. We should teach him a lesson. Zhao Kang, you are much stronger than that guy surnamed ZHU, but forget it. His strength is too strong. It will be too dangerous for you to go alone. What if you get hurt? The man named Zhao Kang heard this, and his face was immediately full of joy and he showed an excited smile. Miss Su cares about me so much, but I'm a little uncomfortable. Don't worry, if this guy dares to come here again and make further advances, I, Zhao Kang, will be the first to disagree. Su Chang'ai looked at him and smiled. I feel relieved when you say that. At this time, Lu Chuan, who was walking out of the crowd, was stopped by a loud voice. Mr. Lu, please stay. Lu Chuan paused and looked back. On the training ground, a middle-aged man in a golden robe walked slowly, and behind him, there were more than a dozen fully armed guards. The man had a square face, a dignified appearance, and was full of righteousness. He walked with a strong step and full of momentum. Who are you? I'm the mayor of Xianan City, Yuan Xiancheng. Mr. Lu, I didn't expect you to come to my house without saying hello in advance, so that I could come and meet you in advance. Lu Chuan smiled helplessly. I'm in time. The main reason I didn't say hello in advance was because I was afraid of alarming someone. Are you talking about Su Chang'ai? She is a distinguished guest of my house. She has been visiting my house for some time. Lu Chuan walked towards Yuan Xiancheng. City Lord Yuan, why did you come to me? You made such a big fuss. I must talk to you. The Nangan family is the first family in Xianan City. I didn't expect that they would fall into your hands. It's really amazing. Mr. Lu, come with me. I'll take you to the reception room and we'll talk slowly. Lu Chuan looked back at Dan Fangcheng and said, let's go. Let's go together. Okay, let's go and take a look. Dan Fangcheng followed behind Lu Chuan, and Lu Chuan walked beside Yuan Xiancheng. The three of them led the people behind them and walked towards the reception room. Su Chang'ai looked at Lu Chuan from a distance and frowned. What does the city lord mean? It seems that he wants to make friends with Lu Chuan. Su Chang'ai was a little flustered. What should I do? He destroyed the Nangang family with his own hands. He is definitely a murderer. If he finds trouble with me, wouldn't I? Her face became ugly, like a dying person who was sentenced to death. Zhao Kang beside her quickly comforted her. Miss Su, don't worry, I will protect you. You protect me. Okay, I believe you. Su Chang'ai said helplessly. Jumong was captured, and there was no one around her who was willing to work for her, which made her lose some sense of security. It just so happened that Zhao Kang could be a replacement. Lu Chuan followed Yuan Xiancheng to the reception room. In the reception room, servants burned incense and added tea, and prepared some exquisite desserts, to prepare for the city lord to welcome guests. Yuan Xiancheng walked into the reception room, and found a chair to sit down. Sit anywhere, I don't have any rules here. Lu Chuan, there are rumors outside, that Nangang Xian is dead. Is this true or false? Yuan Xiansheng picked up the teacup and took a sip. Of course it's true. He died in front of me and died in my hands. Really? Did you fight him one-on-one and kill him? Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Yes, if it's a Malay, I might not be his opponent. I don't have many men, but if I fight one-on-one, I'm not afraid of anyone. Chapter 900, Visiting the City Lord's Mansion. You're not afraid of anyone in a one-on-one fight? That's too much. It doesn't matter, I just like confident young people. The reason I brought you here is mainly to ask, why did you come to Xianan City this time? He looked at Lu Chuan curiously. Of course it's the Nangang family. Nangang Xiandu is dead, and the most promising young man in their family was also killed. Now, are you going to attack Nangang Qianying? Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Yes, this old man kidnapped a friend of mine, and he didn't intend to let him go, so I had to fight all the way here. The reason is naturally very simple. This guy doesn't take me seriously at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let me go until now. I came to fight the Nangang family, just to make a name for myself. Now I want to let the Nangang family know that they made a big mistake. Lu Chuan said confidently. Okay, it can be seen that the Nangang family has really made you angry, making you so eager to get rid of them. But, you have to know that Nangang Qianying's strength is probably very extraordinary. If you want to fight him, it will be more difficult than fighting with Nangang Xian. However, you are not completely without advantages. Nangang Qianying is too old, which is estimated to affect his strength. By the way, there is one more thing. I want to know, what is the situation between you and Su Chang'ai? I see that you two don't seem to get along well. Do you have any conflicts? Lu Chuan smiled disapprovingly. Huh? I don't take her seriously. Her strength is average, but she likes to play some tricks and want to cheat some good things from me. I don't have any deep hatred with her, but if she sets her sights on the treasures on me again, I will take her life. Don't stop her when the time comes. Yuan Xiansheng nodded helplessly. Okay, but I want to remind you that Su Chang'ai's background is not simple. She is from the Su family. Although the strength of the Su family is not top-notch, it should not be underestimated. Otherwise, I would not regard Su Chang'ai as a guest of honor. If you want to take action against her, you must be careful of revenge from the Su family. Lu Chuan shrugged, picked up the teacup next to him, and took 2 sips. If I take action against the Nangang family, you probably won't interfere, right? Upon hearing this, Yuan Xiansheng immediately laughed. Of course, if you can clean up the remnants of the Nangang family, I will be so happy. The forces in the city have been dispersed, which consolidates my position as the city lord. So, I will never interfere. The conflict between you and Nangang Qianying should be resolved by yourselves. Lu Chuan turned his head to look at Dong Fangcheng and said, let's go back. It's getting late. Let's go. We should inquire about Nangang Qianying's situation when we go back. Dong Fangcheng looked at Yuan Xiansheng and said respectfully, I'm the young master of the Dongfang family. Dong Fangcheng, please give me your advice. Dongfang family, you are definitely a top family. The Su family is nothing compared to you. You come to my city lord's mansion, you should also enjoy the treatment of a guest of honor, but I see that you are going back with Mr. Lu, then I won't keep you. Yuan Xiansheng stood up and prepared to see him off. Mr. Lu, I won't let you stay any longer. You still have things to do. If you are free one day, you can come and visit me. I will definitely treat you well. Thank you very much. Then we will go back first. Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng walked out of the reception room and left the city lord's mansion. Yuan Xiansheng looked at Lu Chuan's back and sighed. Such a young man actually has the strength to surpass Nangang Xian. It's really amazing. At this time, the door opened and Su Chang'ai walked in quickly. Where is Lu Chuan? She asked loudly. Miss Su, do you have something to do with him? Of course. Where is he? I want to find him. I can't let him go so easily. But, he's gone. Uncle Yuan, how can you let him go? Don't you know? He's here to deal with me. He will definitely make trouble for me. Maybe it's not impossible for him to kill me. After all, he dared to kill Nangang Xian. So how difficult is it to kill a weak woman like me? Yuan Xiansheng sighed helplessly. Miss Su, don't think I don't know. Lu Chuan told me that you were thinking about the things on him, so you attacked him first, right? Su Chang'ai immediately retorted, how can you believe what he said? He is a villain who kills people like crazy. How can you believe his words? Su Chang'ai said, a little aggrieved. Yuan Xianqing smiled helplessly. Okay, I know. You go back first. Lu Chuan won't attack you. Don't you live with me? Don't worry, I won't let him mess around. Okay, I believe you. Su Chang'ai turned around and left here. Yuan Xianqing sighed helplessly. When he was communicating with Lu Chuan just now, he could feel that Lu Chuan was not a person with a bad temper. Instead, he seemed very easygoing. He didn't care about many things, but when it came to his bottom line, he would become fierce. Lu Chuan, butler. An old man walked in quickly. Master, what do you want? Collect the information about this Lu Chuan for me. I want to learn more about him. This person is definitely not a simple person. If we can win him over, it will be of great help to our 10-year plan. Yes, sir. I'll do it right away. Lu Chuan and An Fangcheng walked out of the city lord's mansion, rode on their horses, and returned to the inn along the street. Mr. Lu, has this trip been in vain? Not really, at least we met Su Chang'ai. This woman is quite pretty, and taking advantage of this, she found a bootliker to be her thug. Dan Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan and asked curiously, what is a bootliker? It's Jumang. This word means that he gives unlimited devotion to Su Chang'ai without asking for anything in return. I see. However, since there is a bootliker like Jumong, she can still develop a second or a third, right? She has experience anyway. Lu Chuan shrugged disapprovingly. I'll spare her for now. This trip has given her enough warning. If she doesn't know what's good for her, don't blame me for killing her. As for that Nangang Qianying, that old thing, we'll see when he'll roll out of the mountains and forests. Before that, we'll first clean out the remnants of the Nangang family in the city. Only after the Nangang family is cleaned out, will I feel at ease to move on and attack the Lu family. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.